What's up, guys? Facecheck here. Week 8 in the books, episode 9 for season 2. COVID tried to stop us. The players voted. They tried to stop themselves, but they got outvoted. And week 8 now being navigated by myself, Loco, and Dom. Guys, it's a crazy world out there. How has coronavirus, COVID-19 affected you guys so far?
I think this is like the first world event where I'm actually like living through and I'm going to remember forever. I know we talked about 9/11 on the show before, but honestly, I was just way too young to really feel the effect of it. But like this corona thing is something like I will remember for pretty much the rest of my life.
Yeah, definitely. Same here. I mean, I think I'm like 2 years older than you, so I was able to like process 9/11 pretty well, I think, because, you know, I got like, I remember getting taken out of school. I remember my parents talking to me. I saw like all the graphic images that I still like remember to this day of like people jumping off the top of buildings and like, you know, because they don't want to be burned to death, choosing to like end their own life that way. Instead, like I still have all those memories. And I guess like I had an uncle that was affected. He was in the Verizon building, which is one of the surrounding buildings of the
Twin Towers.
Twin Towers, the World Trade Centers. So he ended up developing like a respiratory problem from all the smoke inhalation, because all the people, like that's what people don't understand about 9/11. It's not just like the 2,000 people that died or the 3,000 people that died when the towers actually collapsed. It's like all the people that were affected by like just being in that atmosphere, like breathing in that much smoke. There's many people that have died of like the respiratory problems since then because of 9/11. Those aren't considered like 9/11 deaths. So I think that was just like always a reminder, like going back home and just seeing like my uncle is struggle with like all these types of things, where like he had to be on certain types of steroids because he couldn't breathe, and then, you know, taking steroids for a long time is bad, so he would have to like go to different types of medications. So just seeing all that, it was like a constant reminder of like, 9/11 was just a crazy thing that happened. And I'm from New York originally, so it was a crazy event for me. But this is something else. Like I don't remember ever like having an event like this where it felt like barren on the streets. You know, it actually feels like the apocalypse or something.
It definitely does. Like going like, so for, I think a lot of our viewers don't understand. We live in Los Angeles or the Los Angeles area, and so some of the other areas in the country are now starting to shut down. But like it's like you can't be outside unless you are doing something that is of urgent paramount need. So basically you can go outside for food, but they actually this weekend shut down beaches and hikes. So literally it's very, very different. I had a bunch of side projects that I needed to do over the weekend, or that I had opportunities to do over the weekend, and I just couldn't leave the house. You just can't really do that right now. You can't go to work if you have a workplace unless you are a nurse or work at a food place or a government building or do Uber Eats, part of the food delivery chain. If you're not one of those things, you're legally not supposed to be outside. And plus, like it's not smart. It's not healthy to be outside right now. So it's definitely a weird time. I think both of you guys kind of hit it there with the with like 9/11. Back in DC, there was the like Virginia DC sniper shootings for a little while, where it was like an extremist driving around in a white van, and the shooting actually happened like even though it was the DMV area, the DC area, like they hit a school that was like within a couple mile radius from where we lived. And so like it was like we had you got to zigzag walk in lines and things of that nature. So this is very much the same type of thing where it's affecting our daily life, which is why I think kind of opening it up now to League in general, I was surprised that they decided to keep moving forward with LCS. I know that all the production's all online, and that no one is necessarily like in contact and proximity with each other, but it kind of feels like players that had like a fear of being affected or fear of being near each other, or people that were stuck here instead of being abroad. That's super scary to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super crazy that LCS ended up coming back. Like when they announced the hiatus, I thought it was gonna be way longer. I thought it was gonna be like maybe throughout the whole lockdown, and then maybe like that this would kind of be the break, and then in between the normal in between split break where there's like MSI and stuff, they might like finish the season then online. But it was weird to have it come back so fast. At least in my perspective, I thought it was just gonna be a just way longer process to move everything to online, and then I was trying to consider like how they were going to do the peripherals, because if people that haven't like seen the backstage of LCS might not know this, but when you play LCS, you actually are not like, you don't bring your own keyboard and mouse. Riot has their own keyboard and mouse that they like lock up in a locker. So you just take it out of the locker, play the game, and you put it right back in the locker. So you can't tamper with any of your peripherals at all. And I was just like wondering like how they're going to do that whole process when they move it to online. Like how they're going to make sure that none of the peripherals are tampered with, etc. Because that's a huge thing that Riot is super concentrated on.
Yeah, that's why you see those referees in the back. Like that's one of the things that the referees do, along with listening in with all the comms and knowing all the rules in case for pauses and things of that nature. But yeah, just wanted to clarify why they have that. Go ahead, Loco.
So I thought it would just move to a remote location. I think that was their original plan, where they go to a remote studio or they go to the studio they use, and it's just essential staff and the players. And then once like the lockdown was announced and once Corona got more serious in LA, they moved to like players playing from their own homes. And I also have very like similar thoughts regarding the competitive integrity of it, and also thoughts about it being played online. Sure, there's like the 5-minute delay between the stream and then the actual game being played. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm glad it's back online, but in terms of like competitive integrity and like how different it is that the games are being played online, like if it's even correct to have the LCS go on.
I'm okay with having LCS go on personally. Like I think that at this point, like obviously Spring Split doesn't have any effect on the like Spring Split actually does not matter like a lot, right? There's obviously you want to perform well, and it gives players like the comfort of playing on stage, and like you're learning a lot throughout the split. So like the competition is valuable for the players. But in terms of like, let's say we get like a slightly different result, like, you know, maybe TL, they would have made playoffs on stage because they're just going to band together, and, you know, all their experience would have kicked in week 8, week 9. And then some of the teams that are fighting there, like 100 Thieves with the young players, maybe those players play worse on stage and better online. So Ryoma just chokes it away and TL ends up making, like, maybe there's some stories like that you could make an argument like, oh, like this is like why playing the games on stage matter or something, because of just like the environment that creates. But in my opinion, it's just like I'd rather just see the competition than just have nothing at all. Like if they cancel the split, I feel like it would be such like a waste of time. You know, I'd rather have this than nothing.
Yeah, but yes, I agree. Like I'm split too, right? It's been a big topic of conversation on Twitter. Monty's had his opinions on it. Jack went on to Reddit and kind of came out saying the LCS took a poll of players, asking them if they would like to continue or not, and what was their reasoning. And so in that statement, Jack said that Cloud9 voted against taking a break. But
I wonder why.
Yeah, right.
The one split like that, I feel like that's such like you got to take that with a grain of salt. Like, oh, the team that's winning wants to keep on playing. You know, right. It's like if you go into a League of Legends game and there's like a surrender vote, and then the enemy team that's winning the game can actually choose like whether or not that they can pass the vote. It's like, oh wait, no, let's stay in the game or not. Like it's always more fun to be fucking winning. They don't care if they're online or whatever. If you're 15-1 in the split, you don't want the split canceled. That's right. For sure.
I will also say, knowing like the C9 players and who they have, I don't think there's any person that would say no, let's not play the split, even if they weren't doing as so well. Because you would have to look at the imports that are here, Zben and Niski, and their lives revolve around the game so much. I think they would have still voted to keep the split going, even if they weren't like this dominant.
Well, just to clarify, so all this information came from Jack, right? Jack passed it on saying, hey, look, these players voted according to the results. Most players said that if they did want to skip, the players that did vote to skip, it was because the spring split didn't matter. It wasn't for their own health and safety. It wasn't for Corona. It was like, hey, the split doesn't matter. Plus, there's Corona around. let's not even play it out. And so that's kind of like what sparked this big debate that I wanted to touch on with you guys. Like, does, you know, we've touched on it when they announced the new split format. You know, this spring split leads to MSI, but what else does it lead to? And is it wrong for these players to say that and vote against it, including the fact that Corona's happening? The coronavirus can easily spread, and we're still learning about the virus.
Yeah, I like Thorin's take on it personally. He's like, oh no, which is he said it's fine if these players choose not to play, they just have to give the money back for the split. Like, you just shouldn't get paid then. I feel like that's pretty fair. Like, if you don't want to play online for whatever reason, just don't fucking get paid for it. Like, you obviously get paid for the weeks you played, but the last, like, you just do percentage wise, what was the last like 2 weeks of your contract worth? All right, give that money back and then you cannot play.
I mean, they wouldn't have to give money back. They would just have to
just not get paid it.
Not get paid anymore.
Yeah,
then it will change the game. So I think players saying it's useless, like that they don't want to play, that spring doesn't matter, it's a really spoiled take and honestly a bad take, but it's a really expected take. I think most people are a product of their environment, and I think NA overall develops really, really spoiled players and really spoiled people in general. Like, LA is such a nice place to live in. Like, the weather is so good. As a pro player, you get all your food catered for. In terms of like the actual league, we have like a very low competition with extremely high pay and extremely low turnover. So naturally, it's gonna create an environment where the players are gonna be extremely spoiled. So I agree with everyone that it's a very spoiled take, but I don't particularly blame NA players, because the environment that's been created and the environment like we're consistently fostering is to create more and more spoiled players.
I mean, I fucking disagree with that, because I feel like you just need to, like, I feel like if you actually have internal drive and you care, like, deep down, I mean, that's like saying if somebody's born in like Nazi Germany and then they agreed with like the Nazi German take of like, yeah, like these people are inferior and like we need to like, you know, take over the world and shit like that. And it's like, oh, well, they're just a product of their environment. Like, they're raised like that. So that's like why they think. It's like, no, you can actually like have your own ideas about a situation. And like, if you have the internal drive and you want to fucking keep on playing, like, and you want to be the best and you want to win worlds, and that's like your motivation, then it doesn't matter what environment you're in, you should still have that mindset to succeed. Like, I don't think that players that have that innately within them, like players like Bjergsen, right, who I believe like he wants nothing more than to win worlds. Like, he would take winning worlds over any other thing that could happen in his life. Somebody like Perks, somebody like Caps, like these players with that internal, like, I want to be the best, I'm trying to be the best all the time. I don't think it matters where those players are. They're always going to have that mindset.
I agree with you. I think those guys are exception. And even Bjergsen is an import coming from somewhere else with that mindset to NA. And to use a softer example than like the Nazi one, it's no coincidence that most
let's fucking go Nazi. Let's do Nazi Germany example, bro.
Oh my God.
It's no coincidence. Most Christians are from Christian countries, like countries with huge spread of Christianity. Most Muslims are from Muslim countries with huge spread of the Muslim religion. Like, where you grow up and the environment that you're in hugely affects like your outlook on life and what your beliefs are. And the NA environment, we could have more.
Sure, but those are like overwhelmingly like that doesn't necessarily mean anything to me, because like, yeah, like obviously the point of like all religion is for these people to just be good people, right? Like, that is the point of every religion, is like, it doesn't matter like how they do it. The whole point of it is like getting their people to be good people. Like, try to be a good fucking person. But it's like, if you're doing something that's starkly negative, like let's say you grew up in a fucking, like, okay, you can grow up and be Islamic, and that's one thing. You can also grow up and be like in like Al Qaeda and like have your parents be doing that, and you can still see like, hey, my fucking parents, like, I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but this doesn't seem right. Like, these kids carrying around like AK-47s and shit, like, this doesn't seem like it is the right thing. Like, I don't care if I'm a product of this environment. My internal like sense of what is right in the world is definitely off based on like what I'm seeing in my environment.
Analogy Andy over here. Look,
bro, we're going in.
Out of this.
I'm
getting us out.
All right.
I'm getting us out.
Examples are getting extreme, but I'm not saying I agree with NA players being spoiled or making the call to say, let's cancel spring split. But I'm saying it's just very typical of our environment And it's more so than, oh, NA player is bad. Like, why the fuck do they have these mindset? There's a core problem with how LCS is run, and there's a core problem with like where the money is and like how the decisions are being made, that we're constantly getting like subpar gameplay and honestly not very driven players and spoiled outlooks.
So there's 2 points here that I really want to touch on, because I feel like this argument makes sense, right? The products, the players that are coming out of the LCS are product of years of the same kind of stuff, the same kind of player tolerating certain types of behaviors from players. When I explain the LCS and explain our experience, Loco, for Golden Guardians, and then my experience over at Riot interacting with players, with people from other esports, they're like, they get what? They do what? They won't do what? Like, it's kind of surprising to them how much players kind of, at times, take for granted. But I think this is the player vote thing is two different problems. There are 2 different problems. One is the product of the LCS. The second one is, as you said, Bjergsen, Perks, Caps, they want nothing more than being the best. The other option right now is death. It's literally a possibility of dying. And like, you know, we don't really even get to touch on that. Like the mortality.
That's not the number one reason. We're not going against the players that are saying, hey, this is a health concern. We're going against the players that said the primary reason is spring is useless. Like, yes, all the safety concern people, you have nothing to worry about. All the people that are imports that you might not get to see your family if you don't leave now, we're not arguing against you. Go back to your family. If that's your vote, that's what you want to do, you deserve to do that. If you have health concerns, if you have asthma, and if you have high chance of dying if you contract corona, stay the fuck away. Like, don't put yourself at risk. The people we are arguing against is LCS is useless, spring is useless, we don't want to continue playing.
Right.
I mean, I think they also alleviated most of like the health. Like, I don't think that there's a safer environment you can be in than like literally quarantining yourself in your own bedroom and like playing your LCS games from there. Like, I think even if you travel back to your own family, you have a higher risk of getting sick and contracting the virus than if you stay in lockdown and play your LCS games like that. So like, I don't feel like that should be anybody's concern with this situation. It should just be like, mainly like, do you want to keep on playing, and do you think like the integrity of the split is too compromised to the point where like there's no value in whoever wins the split, or the split itself just has, you know, no real winners because of the situation at hand?
So that's where I slightly disagree. I think by taking a majority vote and not having like a unanimous vote here, and having this still exist, having the LCS still exist, puts pressure on players that might have otherwise spoken up. Also, knowing players, we know that they're not the most articulate guys, and they wouldn't be able to have talk shows like you two articulate former pros, but they might have meant like, hey, look, including COVID, also this split doesn't matter. And now we're kind of blasting him on, look at all these lazy players. I think there is a argument there with like, hey, look, this is the process. They are products of the process of the LCS. But I also think they might be getting unfairly bashed
I would love to see what an LEC vote would be. And like how much different it would be. Like, so if you went to like all the LEC players and we could see those statistics and compare it, I just have a feeling that most LEC players would have just wanted to keep on playing. Like, I hear a lot of like people talking about like, hey, I just want to have a fucking purpose. Like, if I'm an LCS player, like I have a purpose. Like, that is like one of the most fun things about LCS is that you wake up every day and you're like, shit, I'm doing something that feels important. Like, I'm, you know, I gotta like try to win these matches. Like, you know, we're working towards like a cause, like we're working towards a common goal with a bunch of other people that are super talented, which just like feels good. Like, anytime you're in an environment like that and you respect the people around you and you're just doing something that's challenging with a group of people, I feel like that is just like an environment for you to just grow a lot as a person. So in my perspective, I would think that, you know, here in general, people just don't have the same mentality towards what it means to be a pro player and like what it means to compete that there is in Europe. It's not like this, you want to be the best type shit. It's like, oh, that's a cool job. Like LCS is like that. Yeah, man, I get to play video games for a living. It's more of that shit than like, let's fucking like become like, you know, the best ever.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that's like the product of the LCS and like the product of the environment. I'll give you an example. For Korean players, most players take it a lot more seriously, and in StarCraft days, it was taken so seriously because to be a StarCraft pro player, you would need a professional gamer's license, which you would have to get through winning a tournament or having a team draft you. And it was never you're a pro player and then you start seeing play right away. You're a pro player, you do laundry for the main team, you do dishwashing for the main team, and then you're on the trainee squad for like a year or two. And then maybe in 2 years, maybe in 3 years, you can join the main roster and you start seeing play as like a StarCraft player. So when you get to play, like you take your job way differently. Where for a lot of LCS pros, they jump from not playing to playing right away, maybe like a year of academy. So the entire process is so different. And depending on how you're given your job and how you have to fight for your job and how the people around you are fighting for your job, you're going to take it very, very differently. And that's kind of the environment we get in NA. In EU, they have extremely high turnover. There's always some like random ass rookie that I've never heard of that's
like
as good as me or that's as driven as me. And that can like challenge people and that are going and doing well at Worlds. Like my outlook is like, holy fuck, it's like
but the
fucking
thing is, like,
survive.
I think the thing that's being lost here is like NA players are not like constricted to only seeing their own environment. It's not like they're just sitting here in NA and they like have no information from the other regions. Like they get to look at LEC, they get to look at LCK, and they can draw inspiration from that. So it's not
it's not impossible, but what you're saying, Dom, is like the exception, right? Like you bring up Bjergsen and Cap's perks, you bring up, hey, you can look outside your environment and you can learn from it and you can try hard. But majority of your influence is going to be the people around you and the environment you're in, more so than like things that are external.
I think that there are players that just embody the wanting to be the best, wanting to win mindset that are NA players too. Though, like I'm giving some examples, but like I would bet that Blabber has a similar mentality to this. I would bet that Vulcan has a similar mentality to this. From talking to Zazel, his mentality is the same. Like there are players that just want to be the best here. And I feel like I agree that it is like your environment, it like allows you to just be a sheep because the like mentality is so accepted here of just kind of like, you know, doing whatever. And obviously most of these players are going to join teams and they're going to learn it from one of the players on their teams because like if you're on a C9, if you're on a TSM, if you're on a TL, for the most part, generally speaking, obviously TL it might be different this split, but generally speaking, those types of teams will have like the culture and the environment built in to like wanting to succeed. But if you're on one of like the teams that just came in, right, you join like a Golden Guardians, there might be a player on Golden Guardians that doesn't have that same mindset, that is kind of playing for a paycheck or just like chilling. Maybe if you're on Dignitas, there are players like maybe Huni is actually paying for playing for a paycheck. Like you don't really know. But I feel like that can shape like your mentality. My point is that there's the information out there, and if you really have it in you, like if you want to be the best, like there is enough out there in terms of like seeing like LEC and just seeing other players within your region that are succeeding, that you should be able to like embody like a champion's mindset if that's like really core to who you are as a person.
Yeah, but most players are extremely young. They haven't figured out who they are yet, what they really want. So maybe some players have early. Maybe those players are exception. But I think for a vast majority of NA, that is not going to be the mindset. And until there's bigger changes in our scene made, until we get rookies coming in consistently year after year and really like challenging the veterans and really upping the turnover rate, I don't think that's going to ever be the majority like mindset for NA.
Yeah. I mean, I hope it will. My theory,
amateur scene. If that is what we want, we really need to fix the amateur scene because that's where we're failing the most.
Well, I think that it could just be that like over time, like it will just slowly weed out the players that just don't have that mindset to the point where like you actually just have a strong competitive league where it's like, okay, like every split we lose like 2 or 3. It's like you already see like people like getting cut like left and right from these teams, right? And then eventually, hopefully, there's enough like imports / people that have been here long enough that have been like had the champions mindset ingrained in them, or they've been on winning teams before, that it just becomes more of like the accepted culture to think like this.
Yeah, well, look for example, Crown had the champion mindset and he's gone, you know.
I don't think he did. I honestly don't believe he played here with the champion mindset.
I think he played with the mindset to show everyone, hey, like I'm not done yet. And he got to show everyone that he wasn't done yet. And then after that, there might have been a mindset shift. That's how I view it. Because on Optic, and from what I heard, like he argued and he was like, no, this is what we should be doing. No, like this is what gameplay should look like. This is dumb. Why are we doing this? Like he was someone that was very passionate about how he thought the game should be played. So I was a person that was extremely high on Crown. So I was shocked when it went down like that on CLG. So
I mean, it just didn't look like he had the fire in him. Like, it wasn't like you can see somebody that's playing poorly, but that's still going for it, right? Like, there's times where people have like an aggressive mindset and you're just like, damn, bro, it's just not working out. But like, this person is like at least trying. It didn't look like he was even fucking trying on CLG, I'll be honest. Like, just like there was just no like inspiration in his gameplay. I don't know how to look at, I don't know how to convey the way that I saw him, but there was so many times where there was like, you look at a decision and it's like, if you're playing a fucking kill, if you're playing a fucking carry, if you're playing to just like win games, you can go for it here. Like, I would see so many times where it's like, you can just fucking go for it. If you have it in you, just go for it here. And it's like, nah, dude, he's just never going for the play. He's always just like, oh, I want to trade in lane slightly, got his TP. Nice, man. Where it's like, no, motherfucker, kill him. Like, he just fucked up. Like, he just entered the whole game, take the kill, reset, come back with fucking more items than him and shove this motherfucker under turret and win the game alone. Like, do that shit. And it just didn't happen. It just never happened.
I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to be like, Dom, how can you tell how he was feeling through his gameplay?
I can show you clips on clips on clips. That's how I will do it.
How I like to view it is, I went to art school, so they first they teach you about what is art. Like, what is art?
You went to art school?
Are you dumb? Like, I talk about it all the fucking time. So the first thing they teach you is art is any form of self-expression. If you're expressing yourself in a certain way, that is art. So I actually like to view game as art, League of Legends as art, and your own gameplay as art. So in a lot of ways, like, you can tell a personality of a player through how they play.
Yes.
And
100%.
It definitely like shows in your gameplay. There's people that are very aggressive. There's people that are impatient in person, and it'll show in their gameplay. There are people that are very patient. There are people that are willing to wait, knowledgeable. Like, it'll also show in their gameplay. There are people that are controlled in person that think twice before they speak. It'll show in their gameplay. And depending on, like, as a pro player, how you're feeling at the time and like how you change as a person also shows in the gameplay. So I actually agree a lot with Dom when he says, like, I can see like the passion of a player and like how much they want it and how much they are trying, like, through their gameplay.
The reason why I brought up Crown is because when we talk about players being in the system for a while and building that mindset.
What is it? Fucking prison being in NA, being in the system. My God.
Well,
all right.
That's what we're talking about here. Like,
North American prison.
The player that you're talking about where you'd rather have that he goes for the plays, but it's just not working out, but he's trying to make it, is the guy that replaced Crown, which was Pobelter. On FlyQuest, Pobelter had the most deaths out of all mid laners, I think out of almost all non-support players, because he was going for it play after play after play, and it wasn't paying off for FlyQuest. And
when you watch Pobelter play, right? When you watch the first two Azir games that he played, this split, right? I think he had a combined scoreline of like 1-9 or something, and he played against C9. You could tell just by watching him play that his mindset was like, hey, like, there's a point of the game where we are losing. We need to do something to potentially win the game. Like, if the game keeps on going at this pace, we are fucked. That is just the facts of the matter. I mean, you would see him give his life in order to try to make something happen in the game because his priority was trying to win as hard as possible. You can tell when a player has that mindset, and you can also tell when the player's mindset is, hey, I'm going to do everything in my power to not look bad. Not looking bad is not how you win games. Like, you have to try to make plays, and if it goes poorly, you lose. If it goes well, you win. Like, if you just sit there and you try to do nothing and you try not to look bad, you'll eventually just lose.
Let's wrap up the Corona topic and start moving to teams.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We touched on Corona, touched on the players voting against it because spring split doesn't matter. I am still concerned that, by having the LCS, players that are worried about going back home, being stuck here because of, different laws, they'll just get outruled, and the way that they'd be perceived. I think it's just a difficult decision.
Your teammate vote to cancel the split, and then you have to continue playing with them. Oh my God, it's gonna be fucking awkward.
Yeah, so I think it's just a weird situation to be in. But
I bet all the TL players wanted to cancel the split. Just pretend that this shit fucking never happened. Wait, what do you think Double's vote was? You think he was like, no, let's keep on playing, boys. Let's fucking do it.
You know what?
I don't believe it for a second.
They all.
Let's. Do you guys want to play a game? Let's talk about majority, like what each team we think voted.
Okay, sure. I'm down for that.
All right,
All right.
number one team C9. We all agree they voted yes, right?
Yeah,
Let's play.
of
Yeah,
course.
yes.
Of course.
All right. TSM, what do you think they voted?
I think
Yes.
they all voted yes.
They voted yes. FlyQuest?
I think everyone except Viper voted yes.
No, I think they probably voted yes.
I think FlyQuest majority voted yes. It's like number 4. EG.
EG.
I think
so.
I
That's
think
what I'm
Bang
saying.
might have voted. I think Bang might have voted.
Yes.
If it was only up to Bang, I think he might have voted no. But EG as a majority probably would have voted yes.
Yeah, like that. Those
Yeah,
types
no,
of
I
players.
think EG would have voted yes.
Uh-huh.
What, you think Jizuke was like, yo, let me go back to Italy right now? Like, you think that was his vote? Fuck no.
No, I guess not.
Let's see.
Who else?
after
100
EG?
Thieves.
100 Thieves.
Roma?
I think they're on the upswing.
I would say no. I would say
Wait.
they didn't vote to play.
Other than Someday, who would want to stop playing?
Roma.
Medios, maybe.
Medios.
Roma has nothing to go back to. Roma has nothing to go back to. Like all these
Medios.
Australian players.
They have family. to go
Medios,
back
I don't
to.
think, like, I would be fine with Cody's son. Like, I would think that there's a chance that Cody's son wouldn't want to play. Like, I obviously can't have any certain idea, but you have to also understand that, like, if we're saying that most of FlyQuest, most of EG, most of C9, and most of TSM wanted to play, right? And more players voted to not play than play, I assume that every other team majority voted not to play. If you're gonna end up with the result where most players ended up choosing not to play, these teams that have to be like 50 that you think are 50-50 most likely just voted not to play.
Yeah, a couple of the teams, there were a couple tweets. So I think Medios tweeted about it. It was like, hey, this is super weird, but we're going to try our best. Golden Glue talked about it after their first loss, which feels bad. It was after their loss, but he said, we had terrible practice this week, and it just was kind of a shock, especially for teams that had scheduled games that were supposed to be on Monday. We reverted back to the old 2-day schedule. So it's all Saturday, Sunday. You lose kind of the day to prep, lose the day to practice. It throws off the schedule. I don't know exactly how much it throws off the schedule, but it, any day to prep that is lost is a disadvantage. So either way, coronavirus affecting things. Let's get into the week itself. So week 8 in the books. What were some of the big stories here for you, Dom, as you co-streamed it all?
Big stories of this week. Well, I guess the biggest story for me was that like TL actually just didn't win their games that they like needed to. Well, okay, they won one, but they need to win to make playoffs. They had to win these 3 games and then lose the C9 one was like the most likely scenario. And they just went and lost to EG, like one of the teams that's like their direct competition. So now they don't have the tiebreak versus EG. They're not going to even probably win enough games to match EG's record at this point. But now like they're in a situation where if they lose to fucking C9, and they need 100 Thieves to go 0-2, which includes 100 Thieves losing to CLG to then get a tiebreaker to potentially make playoffs. So like the biggest thing for me, the biggest surprise for me was just like, damn, TL actually just doesn't have the fire in them at all. Like especially the way they lost that game where they just rolled over and died. And it's like you see fucking Impact, and Impact just doesn't look like close to the same player. Like it's just so crazy to see Impact not be consistent because that was always his thing. He was always the most consistent top laner in the league, and now he's just like dog shit. It's crazy.
His first 2 deaths were so fucking bad.
Yeah,
it actually showed in his gameplay. He does not care. He does not give a fuck. Like the first death where
why would you even flash at that point?
No, the one where he's getting ganked.
That's Mordekaiser.
I'm just shocked. I'm like, okay, you didn't see where the jungler started. It's 3 minutes and you're like actively trading and try to push this guy in. You realize your jungler is on the other side of the map. Like there's only one thing that can happen. You're going to fucking die. And then the second death where he flashed over the Herald wall to chase after Kumo. That was you have half duration left on your ult and you use majority of your skills. Like where the fuck are you going to get the damage to kill him?
And Kumo, so number 1, he's flashing onto the enemy side of the map as Mordekaiser. Number 2, Kumo still had flash. So like even if Kumo gets close to dying, he can just flash back over the Baron wall and just chill. And then Impact is just stuck on the other side of the map. Like I don't know, man. He just looks so uninspired in his gameplay.
It shows in his gameplay, like he really doesn't care.
Which is so weird because I always felt like he was just gonna always care regardless. Like even when he was on dog shit teams, he always cared. When he was on NRG, he fucking cared. When he was on Tip, when I fucking played against him, his team was terrible bot side. His fucking mid laner was Gate. And he still was fucking trying super, super hard every game, popping off, like just trying to do whatever to win the game. Now I just see him playing. It's like, dude, what happened? You just made enough money at this point that you just don't give a fuck.
I mean, he has a building.
Tower.
He has a fucking building in Korea.
He's got Impact Tower in Korea, and he just doesn't give a fuck anymore. I don't know. It's so weird. Like, it's so
probably
weird
did the
seeing
math
these
where, like, with it, when you buy a building in Korea, a big thing is like you never have to work again. Like, you're a landowner, and like people rent out buildings like crazy in Korea. So most people that own buildings just never have to fucking like work again, and they just manage their building.
Do you think it's a product of like just Team Liquid in general? I mean, we saw Doublelift like loses drive.
I'm definitely sure on Team Liquid the problem is exponential because there's so many people that have accomplished so much and earned so much money. So it's like a different problem altogether. And there's definitely championship fatigue there. Like when you win the last 4, it's kind of hard to get up in the morning for the 5th.
Really? I don't see that at all, bro. I see Caps win the last 4 and he's still rank 1 in fucking G2.
You
Like,
can't bring up Caps and be like,
why?
this is the norm. Because that's an exception.
Yeah,
No,
I disagree in this case, Loco, because there aren't very many other 4-time
Yes,
champions.
exactly.
So you have to look at the other 4-time
that becomes the norm when you start going into that fucking tier of like multi time champions.
Most of the time,
one other caveat for Impact versus Caps: the length of time played. I'm pretty sure Impact is almost like maybe double length of time played for Caps. Like, I think it is normal for people to feel fatigue, and it's just not as special anymore when you win that much. And I think people like Caps and Perks, like people that still have the drive and people that are still playing solo. That's why I think like G2 is so crazy. When I hear like, oh, after we lost Worlds, like going into next season, like we just practiced kind of the same amount. Like they're playing solo queue on their days off after like losing Worlds. Like those guys are crazy. They're just a different monster altogether.
Bro, Yankos has been playing for fucking forever, bro. Yankos is a fucking fossil at this point. And he's still fucking grinding out there, bro. Every day he plays solo queue. Look at his fucking accounts. He plays solo queue every fucking day. Tries to be the best jungle in the world nonstop.
Anyways, like going back onto like the TL stuff, like I think their draft was also fucking int. What'd you think of Casio Trundle?
Their draft is so look. This bullshit that teams do, where they give over Aatrox and they play these counters to Aatrox. Oh, let me pick Fiora into Aatrox. I'm Huni. I'm going to shit on him. Just wait until I get 2 items and the game is over by 2 items. Oh, I'm going to pick Gangplank into Aatrox. Watch me shit on him in lane. I get Executioners and I just Q him with Grasp. He can't even fucking lane. All these counters to Aatrox. Oh, Camille. So as I'm going to play Camille into Sunday's Aatrox. Whoops. I got solo killed 3 times in lane and now we lost the game. Stop fucking trying to pick counters to Aatrox. First fucking pick Aatrox. At least pick Aatrox in the first 3. You give over Aatrox into these fucking teams and you get bodied relentlessly. The champion doesn't have enough weaknesses to guarantee that your counter matchup is going to fucking work. The game just doesn't work like that. You're not going to get a 1v1 for the entire game as Fiora versus Aatrox and eventually be able to like outsplit him at multiple items. The champion team fights well. It sets up ganks well. It can play into any lane. Doesn't matter. Kennen with Gunblade, we saw that bullshit too. We saw the Kennen with Gunblade from Broken Blade into something. No, I'm not even talking about the Haunter one that we just saw recently. That one was terrible too. I meant the other one that was terrible. It's kind of hard to tell which counter matchup into Aatrox went wrong because there's so many because it fails every single fucking time. But I was talking about the Broken Blade playing Kennen with Hextech Gunblade into Someday. Like in week 6 or whatever that was, the first time they played 100 Thieves, where he was just even CSing into the Aatrox and then he just like couldn't even get off his ultimate in team fights. God damn, bro. These fucking
was it Corona that got him, or
bro? These fucking counter picks to Aatrox are literally giving me Corona as we speak. This is just too insane right now. This is too fucking insane. Like, just stop trying to counter pick Aatrox. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind.
I will say there are better first picks. Like I like Set better, I like Senna better, all these. But outside of that, I generally agree with Dom. I do think I don't mind the Mordekaiser into Aatrox. You kind of just go even. You're both like, as a Mordekaiser, you're not as effective as Aatrox.
It's a scaling pick. No. I've talked to a lot of pro players. It's a scaling pick. Don't worry, you'll outscale the Aatrox. Just wait until 3 items. Wait until you're in the side lane in 3 items. You're gonna beat his ass.
I think Mordekaiser is just. He's just he's like a neutral pick to me, along with Aatrox. Like the other guy picks Aatrox, you pick Mordekaiser. Hope your team gets something else in the draft. It's not really like a scaling pick. I don't see the Mordekaiser and be like, oh my god, once Mordekaiser gets three items.
No, trust me. That's what they tell me. Once you get Nashor's Tooth, Leandri's, and potentially a Morello's, you can beat his ass in the Death Realm.
Beat his ass.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't work when the Aatrox is like being played by Kumo, who in theory, Kumo should be a worse player than Impact. At this point, I don't even know anymore. If I was going to make a top lane tier list after this
Kumo's been better.
Yeah, Kumo's been playing a lot better, number one. And people are going to say this just because I fucking live 2 floors over him and I'm afraid of him at this point. No, that's not why. Like, he's actually individually been playing way better than he was before. I don't even think I could put Impact over Kumo right now if I was to make a top lane tier list. Like, Impact has to be towards the bottom of the tier list at this point.
Yeah, man. Okay. Have you seen his photo, his player photo, his neck muscles?
Yeah, he's fucking jacked. He's huge, and he would murder me in a physical fight.
Anyways, going back to the draft, what do you think of the Cassio Trundle rotation? That's where I was like, what the fuck
my
are you
god,
doing?
into a like, that's what makes no sense. It's like, do you scout? Because when I'm sitting there, right, like, and I'm doing my co-stream, I'm like, hey guys, what's Jizuke's best fucking champion this entire split? Oh, LeBlanc, he's just been popping up.
It's his best champion of his life, like LeBlanc and Echo.
Yes, LeBlanc, right? And then like, you look at other teams' drafts and people are like even banning it like in the first 3 bans against them sometimes. People are trying to make sure they at least take it away in the second 2 bans. And you know that Svenskeren loves Lee Sin. So it's like, oh, LeBlanc, Lee Sin. Oh, wait, they just love playing both of those champions. And then you just give them what they're best at. And you don't even pick a matchup that is good into LeBlanc. It's not like you have this counter to LeBlanc where it's like, oh shit, like now it's really fucking hard for this LeBlanc lane. And like, we have like Rek'Sai to counter like the Lee Sin. It's like, no, Trundle does not do anything to Lee Sin. Lee Sin is not afraid of playing into Trundle at all. Worst comes to worst, you face check a bush that Trundle's in, you war jump away, you're fine. There's no way that you can ever like die in that matchup. So the Lee Sin gets to play freely. You think a LeBlanc cares about playing into Trundle? Imagine getting ganked by a Trundle when you're playing LeBlanc. Like, you literally, the only way you can die is if you literally just CC yourself laughing at the fact that Trundle is trying to gank you. That is the only way you can die is LeBlanc into Trundle. So, like, what is the point of these picks? Like, that must be the least scary draft of all time mid-jungle. Oh, they have Trundle Cassiopeia into Lee Sin LeBlanc. All right,
well,
sure.
Let's not fight them at 40 minutes, guys.
Yeah, okay.
Isn't the point of Cassiopeia, right? Again, this is layman draft wondering. Isn't the point of Cassiopeia being able to throw down the miasma to stop LeBlanc and Lee Sin from making those plays in the first place?
Yeah, but there's
a little bit of delay before the miasma lands. So when the players are good, they'll see the animation and they'll go in on you. And also, like, there's something called skill checking. Like, this is a concept that I wish was bigger. When you pick stuff like LeBlanc and Lee, like, you're looking for opportunities to skill check the opponent whenever they're making a mistake or they give you a small window to abuse them. Like, you're going to abuse them. For people that don't have the skills, they're not going to be able to abuse you and you get to scale as the Cassio Trundle. But that's not the case for EG. And also, the draft is so fucking obvious. There's so many teams that are doing this. Actually, there's 2 teams that I can recall that do this all the time. It's FlyQuest and EG that have really strong mid laners and junglers that want to set up for them. Lee Sin on 4 or Lee Sin on 3. Where they take it, they'll have strong early game, and it allows their mid laner to pick pretty much any kind of AP carry they want and still have really good synergy with the jungler. Like, I just don't get why teams don't ban Lee and just ban Lee Pantheon versus these teams. Like FlyQuest and EG, you should be banning Lee Pantheon so they can't set up for the AP counter pick or the AP carry later on. Why the fuck did they ban Gragas? I was like, what the fucking hell? Go look at Svenskeren's last 6 games. Lee, Pantheon, Lee. It's like they don't have access to like scouting reports or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's really, really insane. And then also, like, LeBlanc into Cassio, like, obviously there's the delay on miasma, but like also the way that Jizuke is going to play it is post level 6. By the time that actually becomes like, oh, you can kill the person, Jizuke is going to W and then R forward. And then he's going to have 2 places that he can go back to. So he's just going to go to whichever one isn't on the miasma. It's not like some shit where it's like he can't even fucking play the game.
Gotcha.
Like, it's completely okay for him.
It's so hard to punish when your jungler is Trundle. Like, when your jungler is something else, when it's like, let's say it was what? Pantheon Cassio. Pantheon Cassio, I can see it going differently. But when you're doing Trundle, and also the Trundle pick there was just so fucking bad. My thing with Trundle is you pick it into Sejuani, or they have multiple immobile members, and it's a really great non-committal, hey, like I put the pillar up, you're going to have to flash or you're going to be in a bad position. They had Ashe and a Tahm Kench. I'm like, so even though Ashe is immobile, she's the only champion that's really locked in, that's immobile, and they have the Tahm Kench to favor. Trundle just didn't make any sense. I think there must have been some kind of like scrim circle where everyone played a lot of Trundle and they went off or something, because there were so many random ass Trundle games.
There's just because the thing is, it's impossible to really like get shit on in the jungle as Trundle, I feel like. But there's so many times where you should just be able to play fine into a Trundle. Like there's so many champions that people are afraid of. Like try that shit in EU. Go play against Origin and pick Trundle early blind. You know what they're going to fucking do? They're going to play Karthus, and the Karthus is going to have 700 CS at 10 minutes, and he's going to one-shot your team when he presses R. Like, that's what's going to fucking happen. Like, you can't just get away with this bullshit. But teams are so afraid. Like, dude, if I was playing or if I was coaching and I saw these types of drafts, there's so many champions that you can just pick to exploit it, and it seems like the players just aren't able to fucking play the fucking champions that are counters to whatever is meta at the point. Like that's like one of the only reasons why I feel like EG is becoming like a strong team. I would say they're probably like maybe the third or fourth best team in the league right now. Maybe they're better than FlyQuest in my opinion. Is because they can play like all these different champions. Like new champion comes out, like yeah, fuck, they can just play like Pantheon, they can play Ryze, they can play Echo as a counter. Like it's not like other teams can just pick Syndra and you can just get away with it every single time. There are things that you can play into it, but it seems like NA teams just let everything just go like unchecked. It's like, yeah, no, it just doesn't matter what you play. I'll just pick Trundle here. It's okay. Like my match, I'm not going to get shit on. Like I won't lose the game alone.
Also, going back.
Okay, like my point is you should be looking at the enemy draft and trying to find like picks that exploit it. But it seems like in general, people just go for like, what is the strongest pick out of my 3 champions? Or like, what have I like inted the least on in scrims in the last week? And they just pick that champion.
As someone that's realistic, like coached realistically before, there's limitations. Like, oh, players can't play anything. Like, why don't they just play Zyra here into this like melee support? I'm like, dude, they don't fucking practice Zyra. This is not going to be a thing. But some of the picks that we're talking about, I think should be a lot more normalized. Like, it is actually atrocious that NA has never picked up Karthus. Like
yeah, dude, you see Wiggly's Karthus, bro, and it literally looked like he was first timing it on stage.
Like
that was the most troll thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, I swear to God, put fucking Tyler 1's 700 game hard stuck Diamond 2 Karthus ass in that fucking game. He might play better. Like, that's actually fucking Christ.
That's actually a great explanation, though. I see that Karthus, and as a coach, I probably saw it in scrims also, and then I'm like, yeah, maybe it's best we don't pick Karthus here. Just take the even matchup. I don't think it's best for us to play Karthus. Maybe the Zyras, maybe the Karthus, maybe all these counter picks that we're talking about are so fucking bad in scrims, and this is what we get when we see it on stage. It is better that we stay away from it. But at a certain point, like, it has to change.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just completely unacceptable. I mean, that's like at least like a more scary game to play Karthus, but you should still be able to play with the mindset of like, hey, I'm playing Karthus into Pantheon. I just don't fight him early ever, and eventually I just scale into like the monster of the world and just press R at level 11 and the game is just over. Like that should just be like a viable way to play out that situation. They just can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
going back.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, because I want to finish up on TL because we've been on it for a while.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. Even if TL makes playoffs, I don't know if this team can randomly turn it on. I think.
Oh hell no!
Literally up until this week, I believed like, oh, TL's gonna win this week. They're gonna turn it on when it comes to playoffs. But I don't believe that anymore. The allure of like TL and the allure of like all these like champion level players like coming together, like they can always do this whenever they want. They're going to turn it on. It hasn't happened. It's not going to happen.
Also, I think that just one thing that is really troublesome on TL is Broxa, like how he paths. I feel like he's just such a fucking servant to his laners. Like he's playing into the Renekton Elise, right? And there should be a way that Gangplank can play the lane to not 100% die to the dive. I've asked LCS top laners, and pretty much like the way Gangplank works so number one, Gangplank is like bad at surviving dives later on in the game once people have like enough health to tank the turret. But level 3, he's actually one of the best champions at surviving dives because he has high base health. And then like barrels like slow is like pretty annoying, but then mainly the W to break the CC chain so you don't just get Renekton Elise. Like, so so you don't get Renekton Elise just one shot like in the CC combo. There is some outplay on the dive, which other teams are willing to like let their laners try to outplay dives, right? If you look at TSM, for example, right? they let like Broken Blade did not have jungle support up there when he played that Aatrox. He should have died, right? But he can outplay, and it is like, and that dive is a 3-person dive. That is a much harder dive to survive than a Renekton Elise dive as GP. Also, because of GP's just like kit, GP can actually survive, or sorry, because of GP's matchup into Renekton, GP actually gets to dictate how the lane goes. Like you can't,
especially in the early levels. Like,
yes.
GP has a fucking gun. He has a fucking ranged weapon.
Yes, yes, he can pull out the strap and fucking just get and just shoot at the fucking Renekton. And Renekton has to trade his health. Like either Renekton has to trade his health to get the push to the point where the Renekton's like going into the dive at like half life or maybe even lower, which makes it even easier to survive the dive. Or the Renekton just has to let the GP control the wave. But Broxah paths in a way where he's level 3 when the enemy at least like closer is level 5, almost level 6 when he's only level 3 because of the way he pathed. Like he did just a full blue side clear, and then he lost his red, and he just watched the guy like take his red in front of him. Then he just watched the guy take his golems in front of him. And then he goes to the bottom crab, Elise gets the bottom crab, and then Elise gets the top crab. It's like, dude, this pathing will lose you the game versus other teams. Like there has to be some amount of
arguments
risk
on both sides though. Like what happens is like there's a voice on the team that's like, if we get dope top, then we're gonna lose the game. Where Brox's voice should be coming in and he's like, no, I can't do this fucking path thing, then we're gonna lose the game. And that's the more right choice. But when that voice isn't bigger than the voice that's going like, if I get dope top, we're gonna fucking lose the game. That's how the game flows.
Yeah,
that's how you get.
So then, what you actually, and that's why you need a fucking coaching staff that's going to intervene and look at the situation and be able to come to the right conclusion on the team. Where you look at the
I think there's a huge divide right now on TL. Why that's not happening? Like between like coaches and players. And
no, I think it's because Broxah is just like willing to do whatever because he's such a team player at his core, right? Like he just wants to do what's better for anyone else, and he's down to fucking take the beating, take like the ass end of matchups. He'll do anything to try to make the team win. But like in reality, like that's works.
Not making the team win. That's actually making the team lose.
Yes, but the problem is like that mindset is great when you have like insane players on your team. Like the laners on TL right now are not playing close to as good as Bwipo, Nemesis, Reckless, and Hillsong were playing last couple of years, right? So that or like Caps the year before, whatever. Like this is not the level of laning that you're dealing with. So you can't just sacrifice yourself only for the fucking laners. Like you need to actually play in a way where you're going to be able to impact the game, and you can't impact the game when you're level 3 as Gragas into a level 5 Elise. Sure, they ended up winning that game because Golden Guardians just does their same shit. They do nothing. Golden Glue is like 0-4-0 at the end of the game on Syndra or some shit. Like he's just running it down. Like I don't give a fuck how hard he's working. He's just inting in LCS as per usual. Like the way that Gragas got into the game with the first blood, that's not even a good first blood. He has the Predator and then E-Flash into the top turret. And Hanzo just simply tried to play the mind game and was like, oh, he's not going to go for it. And he died to that. But like Hanzo just could flash away there and live 100%. And then the Gragas uses Predator and his fucking flash, and the Renekton is still ahead. And then like you just continue getting the game like snowballed on you. So in my perspective, it's just like, I think that the early pathing from Broxah is just like, it's just like pathing that is going to get him fucked almost every time. Like you look at all of his early pathing this entire season that he's played in NA, and the first 2 games with Tactical were the only 2 games where I felt like he actually had like some type of early advantage based on like which camps he chose to do in which order. Like almost every other time he's just either like even or behind based on like the way that he thinks he needs to play the game.
Logo, to close this out, because we talked about the divide. As a coach, how would you fix this? Would you?
No, there's sometimes environments that are like you already fucked up you're too deep in the hole to fix it. You just have to go next. Problems are compound in League of Legends and in team games in general. When they compound on top of each other, you have to start over. It is really hard to fix the problem with like the members you have
there's
and
a
like
week
the relationships
left and you're in
built.
playoff contention. Like
Sure, what would I do to alleviate the problem? I don't think this problem on TL is solvable. I think they need to hit a reset button for this TL to really start working. Replace the coach, replace the member. Like this iteration of TL is just not going to function. Ooh. You don't think TL is going to replace a member after this split, Daniel?
I just want you to tell me it's TL Tactical.
I don't think it'll be double.
Yeah, it won't be double. Even though I think
Yeah.
double has had a atrocious split. And you'll see in my tier list that we are going to do later in the show that I do not think very highly on him based off his performance. This is the split. But I think he has just too much power within this team.
Yeah, right now, like they should just honestly let the players have their way. Like I don't think let the players feel good about something. Find something that works. Let them feel good about it. Like give like at least a small basis to build on and build off of that. But TL needs to hit the reset button fast.
You need to just let them play like free as fuck in week 9 because like essentially to have a good shot of making it, you probably have to win both games. And the only way you're gonna beat C9 is like what do you guys fucking enjoy playing? Is there something that you love playing in fucking solo queue that like you don't think you can play on stage?
Right.
Like because it's not meta or whatever. Like, is there any pick that you have that, is just your specialty right now? Just play something that you find fun and just go ham. Just go all out. Like you're probably gonna fucking not make it anyway. Just go all out.
Here's my perfect draft for TL. Set, Lee, Syndra, Zyra.
I don't want to see Broxah Lee again.
I think he should still play something comfortable. Set, Lee, Syndra, Zyra. Just be comfortable. That's a good comp. It's a great NA comp. Syndra, Set, Zyra. These are great North American champions. Just go ham, boys.
I don't know, bro. All I'm saying, fucking Broxah, just play Karthus. Every time one of your just power farm the whole game, and when your laner fucking dies, go to the lane and shove out the wave, and then shove out the next wave too, and then take a fucking turret plate, and then walk into the enemy jungle, and then suicide for the motherfucking Krug camp, and just end up level 11 by any means necessary. Doesn't matter if you're 0-5, get fucking double pen and press R. That's it. That's all I want to see.
I played some jungle recently, and I learned that's the trick. You don't gank to make sure you kill the person. You gank because
you gank the wave.
Yeah, you gank the wave. Sometimes you don't have creeps up, and it's
gank
really
the fucking wave.
It's really important to get to the next level and stay ahead on the jungler. And you can't just randomly walk into a lane and like start using Karthus Q or whatever skill you have to kill the creep. So you're like, oh man, we ganked the guy, we chunked the guy. Let's push out the wave all the way.
See, the thing is, like, what I've learned about solo queue is you need to use people's perception of how the game is played against them. Like, even if you think it's incorrect. So one of the things you can do is you can push out the waves. Like, you can go and push out the waves and pretend like it's for prio so that you can get the dragon. Even though the dragon is actually fucking useless, your team probably thinks that it's a useful objective, right? It feels like you're winning when you get the dragon. It's like, we did it. We got the dragon. We're going to win the game. So what you do is you go and you push out the wave and you start pinging dragon as you push out the wave. You don't give a fuck about the dragon, but it takes 10 seconds to do. So you have your whole team come, you do the fucking dragon together, and then you go and you push out another fucking wave. It's like, oh, we got to get Herald now. And then you just fucking run to the top side and get that shit too.
It feels good doing together as a team. Like you did the dragon. It's like going on a little workshop.
You guys are evil.
No,
fucking up.
No, you just have to like manipulate your
rankings.
diamond animal teammates.
What are you
constantly.
at? What are you at now, Dom? In your
in my unranked or whatever, my unranked thing. I am plat 1 with D3 MMR. I am 61 wins and 21 losses.
Oh, it's disgusting.
Yeah, I haven't been playing much at all. I only have 82 games total, but it's still going. It's been nice. It's been fun.
Last question. TL, according to Reddit maths, I believe this is one smart Redditor, so I'm going to use this one.
Let's make it simple. They're 7th, and they're 1 game away from 6th. So they're outside looking in. So they have to do better than the 6th place team. And then the other bad thing is they don't have tiebreakers.
Bro, you know what it is? You got to go back to your Worlds game versus Damwon where you lane swapped, had the Scion and Nivea, which makes no sense, and just run that against C9 and hope for the fucking best. That's how you make playoffs.
I don't know. I think it's going to come down to wallet difference versus C9. That's the only way.
It's 42% cheese. Well, hello, Steve.
Yeah. Well, no, that's the thing is C9 is like half trolling now, right? Like you look at their game versus fucking CLG, right? And that's a fucking close. Like C9 is beatable right now. They want to beat TL, right? C9 wants to beat TL because those players just want TL to not make playoffs. That's just hilarious for them.
They have a grudge.
Oh, of course they have a grudge, bro. Like if you have the opportunity to just make like these players that have just been winning, like, every time you're in LCS, when you see another team win and you see them hoisting that trophy on stage, you just hate them as people a little bit more every single time. And this goes for every LCS player.
Do you remember that licorice picture? Do you remember that licorice picture where it's TL like lifting the trophy and he's just like looking? He's like all sad and stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, every single player hates seeing other players in their region succeed. Like no one is like, oh man, I'm really happy that Doublelift was able to, get 4 in a row. 7 titles for Doublelift, nice. They're like, man, I can't wait till this fucking smug motherfucker loses. Like they're laughing their ass off like this whole time. They're like, bench for tactical. Like they want these guys to lose so goddamn bad. I swear to God, C9 is just gonna go all out in this in this next game. Like there's not gonna be the Yasuo Gragas again. It's gonna be like, god damn, they just Gragas Kiana just like they did last time. Nope, no more Yasuo.
All right, 42% chance. Are they in or are they out?
No,
I think they're out. Yeah.
They're out.
Oh, all right. There we go. The final bandwagoners have left the station here on Facecheck. All right. So they're out, but the reason why they're out, we touched on a little bit earlier. Evil Geniuses, 5 wins in a row here. Jizuke, player of the week. He'll get his statue when you're able to meet in person again. He had a hell of a game. Svenskeren looking like MVP form. Bang playing fantastic. And most importantly, I think you're only as strong as your weakest link. Kumo not looking like normal Kumo here. Evil Geniuses now catapult up to second place.
So I think EG did a really good job of getting all their ducks in order. We talked about Kumo
in a row. What are you, ducks in order? Come on, ducks in a row. Let's get the fucking sayings correct.
All right, they got their ducks in order. Holy shit!
What? No, in a row. What the fuck? They got their ducks in a row.
Okay, they got their. Did I say in an order? I said ducks in. Okay.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. You can. All right, they got their ducks in order.
In a row. In a row. They're ducks in a row. They got their ducks in a row, Loco. Please,
right,
God.
Dude, I watched your stream when you were recording your YouTube channel. It's the same shit.
EG finally figured shit out.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with that. EG finally figured shit out. Kumo is finally coming onto his own. He actually was one of the worst players in LCS, and that's definitely not the case anymore. He holds his own as a top laner. He's not a liability. Like we always think of him as a liability, but he's actually a functioning piece of the team. I think he's by far the most improved player.
Mm-hmm.
Svenskeren is looking more like 2018 MVP, and his role's been way more defined. Play Lee Sin, play these AD junglers, get ahead early, make sure you're setting up for Jizuke. And then bot lane also really figured out their role. It's great if you go even, just don't lose. And Bang, play utility AD carries. Just be the Bang that you were for Marin. Be the Bang that you were for Faker. Because in this world, Jizuke might as well be Faker.
God.
Like in the context of LCS, Jizuke is Faker.
I know, but Marin is like Kumo.
Kumo isn't Marin. Kumo isn't Marin.
I know.
Yeah, but Jizuke is Faker in this world. So all you have to do is make sure you're a functioning piece when it comes to 1-3-1, when it comes to team fight, but just be that supportive piece. Like if you look at his wins, it's on stuff like Senna. It's on like they do a lot of weird stuff, and they are more of like the utility piece that's not really getting ahead. And I think EG is the second best 1-3-1 team behind C9. They really know how to work the 1-3-1, and that's where they get ahead the most.
I feel like also they just have like the most like normal drafts out of like all like they will do like maybe one new pick every draft, but like their first 3, it's so easy to predict. Like they just take what's good and they build specific, like that's how drafting should be. You take OP and strong blind pickable champions in the first 3, right? And then the next 2 picks, like based on like what you see of the enemy team comp, then you get like specific counters that are good into like what the enemy has, which is how EG normally drafts. Like they'll take like Lee Sin, they'll take Aatrox, they'll take Set when it's up, take Ornn when it's up, they'll take Aphelios, they'll take Thresh, they'll take whatever like normal picks make sense, and they'll fill it in, or like Tom Kench Varus, they'll do whatever, right? Or Tom Kench Aphelios, they'll do whatever. Strong picks are up, and then they'll give like Jizuke a counter pick. It's like, oh, we're into CLG. They pick Syndra. Oh, this is a good Echo game. Give Jizuke Echo, right?
I wouldn't say their big draft is like the most normal, but they have a formula that works for them, and they stick to that formula as much as possible. Like you said, like Kumo blind pick, like Aatrox, Ornn, Set, whatever it might be. Take that bruiser early. Jizuke always counter pick, and then the jungler is setting up for the counter pick. Always make sure we have an AD jungler, so Jizuke can play his AP carries, and it works well together in the early game. But yeah, they have their formula and they stick to it, and it works great for them.
And I think the other thing is they play all the strong picks well. Like a lot of these other teams that like end up in like these draft holes, it's because they can't actually play what's strong. It's like TL actually just has to ban Senna every game. Either side, they have to ban Senna every game. Like if Doublelift first picks Senna, they can't do like clearly. I'm sure that they've tried it again at some point.
He played a lot of Senna during the Corona break week.
Okay, nice. And clearly it didn't look good because they banned Senna again this week. So the point is that like other teams are clearly able to just like play all the strong picks well, whereas TL, it's like the strong picks aren't even strong. Like it was so obvious because when they drafted their Trundle draft, their Trundle Cassio draft into EG, they're the ones banning Pantheon, where it's like, hey, you guys want an AD jungler here. Like you have Mordekaiser Cassio, right? Or like you have Mordekaiser top with potentially AP mid, because Jensen mainly plays AP mid. I don't think he's played an AD mid the entire split. But you have this type of draft. All right, this is like your perfect Pantheon game. But then they have to ban Pantheon. So like these picks that are like super, super OP in the meta, Pantheon, Senna, like what Tom Kench Varus, like all these different lanes that like you need to play all of them. TL just doesn't play enough of it. And that's like kind of why I think EG is so strong, is they do play everything that's strong. Like Bang can play Senna. You have to ban Senna against Bang, because if he gets Senna first pick on blue side, they've shown that they could play like normal support. Like they played like they play Rumble with it. They can play like a farming fucking Tom Kench with it. Yeah, they can just play the Senna in like any situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the taking a look at the bans against EG this week, it was Senna on both sides because TL and Dignitas both took that one away, and then it was Yuumi Xayah that TL took away on blue side, and then Dignitas took away Set Ornn. When Yuumi and Xayah, EG didn't even worry about banning those when they were on the blue side. So
and think about that, like a Yuumi bot lane is not an uncounterable thing. A Yuumi bot lane is not an uncounterable thing. You can draft in ways to punish Yuumi.
There.
Play Pantheon. Yeah, play Pantheon jungle and play like I'm fine with the Volibear support as a situation.
It's actually really good into Yuumi because you get priority on bot lane, and whenever Yuumi detaches, you go.
Yeah, you can just E.
Yeah, you do the flicky.
Yeah. Well, it's just whenever Yuumi detaches, you press E when it's reattaching, and the champion is just not able to attach for like 10 seconds, and then it's just
when you get CC'd, 5 seconds of no reattaching, it's volleys.
Yeah, no, like they just can't play it into that type of stuff. So. I mean, it just shows a lack of coordination, just a lack of like being able to adapt to whatever meta is prevalent. Like Pantheon jungle became really, really popular, 2-3 weeks ago? And dude, when a team plays a good Pantheon jungle, I don't know if you saw the G2 Yanko's Pantheon jungle that we saw last week. My God, that shit looked OP. He's actually just like 12-0 in the game. It literally looks like he's fucking smurfing in Pisslow. Like it just is so crazy when that champion is ahead. But TL just can't play it.
I guess what are the questions left for EG that you guys want answered? Is it, for me, I think it's can Kumo keep this up? Like it feels like he's getting a lot of help from the flexibility through the draft where he gets to play Aatrox, Mordekaiser, Ornn, Set. It's one of those 4 and everyone's pretty comfortable on all those.
I think Kumo will be like fine. I don't see him suddenly regressing, maybe like playoff nerves or something, but he's been like a gradual uptake. I think EG, they just have. I want to see them do this versus teams like C9. I want to see them do this versus teams like TSM. I think those two are the things that are left. Like, make sure you can beat the top tier teams in playoffs. Like, they've proven themselves so handedly. Where we talked about like rankings earlier, like Dom talked about EG being 3. I think it's C9 1, TSM, EG.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, they have the shot to do that next week against Cloud9. And Immortals. Let's talk about Cloud9 here for a little bit, just because I think we've talked a lot of doom and gloom for the former champion in TL, but Cloud9 is just dicking with kids. Let's just take a quick second. What more can we say?
They're not even trying really anymore. They're going like 60% capacity, like 50% capacity, that type of shit, and they're still winning.
They're doing the most stylish comps possible. Yasuo Gragas for both games, Kalista top, Syndra bot lane, Bard.
Aurelia.
They're just styling on kids, and I love the way they play. It's very reminiscent of LPL, like constantly playing for tempo, constantly making sure you're there for the fight, and always skill checking the opponent. Like, you're not here when you're supposed to be, I'm gonna fuck you up. Like, don't fucking be here. You're not supposed to be here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I think that at this point they're just like, I think they are trying to get some value out of these games. They're like, hey, let's try like our scrim comps on stage. Like, what is there anything you guys want to play? Like, is there anything you players really like? It's like, dude, I really want to play Yasuo. Niski really wants to play Yasuo. Great, Yasuo Gragas it. Oh, you want to try out like Aurelia with the new build, right? Blade the Ruin King got buffed. Like, you want to try out the
I think
Blade
that's
of the Ruin
real
King?
though. I think the Aurelia pick is actually legitimate. Like, Blade of the Ruin King on certain champions, I think Aurelia and Renekton are the biggest two. Like, these two will be legitimate picks in the future.
Yeah, sure. But I think that like they're like normally they would just be playing like, okay, maybe we'll do one of these things this game. It feels like they're letting all players just experiment on stage, where it's like, okay, Bard into Tom Kench. That makes sense, right? Bard into Tom Kench. Like champions like Braum, Tom Kench, they should be beaten by Bard in lane. Like it's they can't ever engage on the Bard, right? And the Bard just is literally able to just poke for free and just roam the map the entire game.
Yeah, it's just mid game where Bard has to play really well to maintain that level of effectiveness. But like Tom Kench, Alistar, Braum, these champions, like you can play at like a mediocre level, and these champions are incredibly effective mid game. So from Bard's side, win lane and also play well during mid game to be able to really counter those champions.
Yeah, I mean they're just comfortable enough. Like they know that when the time comes for it, their ducks will be in order. So they can just play however they want now because they can just turn on the switch again and boom, like everything will function as normal.
Yeah, it's ducks in a row, but good one.
Okay, all right, my bad.
Can you? God damn it! Can you explain the Blade of the Rune King stuff for the top lane just a little bit?
It's just OP.
So
Riot does this thing where they're actually just mentally ill, right? So what Riot does is they buff things to an extreme degree, right? So if you think about Blade of the Rune King, it used to do 8% max health damage per auto on melee. Well, they buffed it to 12%. So that's a 50% increase. Oh, does the item cost a lot more money now that it's like so fucking good? No, it costs the same amount of money. Oh, it's just fucking turbo broken on every melee top laner now. So everyone is just going to be spamming Blade of the Ruin King. You're seeing Blade of the Ruin King Aurelia, Blade of the Ruin King Renekton, Blade of the Ruin King Yasuo, Blade of the Ruin King Fiora. Oh, wow. Like anything can build this fucking item because of it. Like it's just so crazy, like the degree that they buff things. Like what happened to like little increases, little nerfs, like, and just seeing what ends up balancing out. Like Riot does this thing where they're like, okay, like this thing did 10 damage at level 1. Let's see if it does 170 damage at level 1 if it actually like changes. Oh, it's OP now? Okay, great. I guess we have to nerf it. Okay, we're gonna make it do negative 30 damage at level 1. It's like, wait, what the fuck? Like you can't just go like 10, 15, like back to like 13, like some shit like that. Like you have to go 10, 170, negative 30. Like it's just so crazy. And then these people want to go on fucking like Twitter and shit and talk about 200 years of design experience. How can you be this experienced and still be this fucking incompetent? It just shows that you're bad at your job. That's really what it is. It's just you are bad at balancing the game at that point. Like anyone can tell you that is just an objectively bad decision. But they just do it consistently.
I will say something on the side of Riot. So they always wanted Blade of the Ruin King to be a bruiser item, not a rain champion item. And for pretty much the duration of the game, Blade of the Ruin King has been a rain champion item. So I think they wanted to shift it towards let's make it more bruiserish. I do agree with you. They went on board. But the direction they're going is what they want. Like this is supposed to be used on bruisers. And the champions that you talked about, Irelia,
it's just so extreme. It is so ridiculously extreme.
Irelia and Renekton, because these champions have skills that apply on hit. Irelia with her Q, Renekton with his W. Like Blade of Ruin King plays really, really well with it, and that's the direction they want to push.
So Renekton W, right? It used to do like, let's say it was 8%, right? It does 3 hits when you have Fury, 3 hits, right? So it used to do 24%, right? Now it does 36% of somebody's life. Obviously, it's armor, not like true damage. There's armor and fucking other factors in it, but it does 36% before mitigation damage to the enemy champion. How is that fair? like it just doesn't make any sense.
They're gonna nerf it at this point. There's no way it survives in this iteration because the Blade of the Ruin King top lanes have all just been going off. And honestly, Irelia should be building Trinity. Renekton maybe should be building Borg, but I think should be building Black Cleaver, Tiamat. Like these are the items that Riot had in mind for these champions.
Yeah. And it's current health. So I misspoke. It's current health, but it's still 36%. Like so it's 12% and then it applies 12% of that. But the problem is that like compared to what it was before, it is just way too much of an increase. It's not like it was max health before and then they made it current. Like it is just literally just way too much fucking damage. And the item's super cost efficient. Like you look at the stats of Blade of the Ruin King. And this was a viable item beforehand. It wasn't like Blade of the Ruin King was like unplayably bad.
It was just not viable on the champions they wanted to be viable on. I think they wanted it to be majorly a bruiser item and bruisers weren't buying it. So they're like, let's push it a lot and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, but that's just like I feel like that's just like forcing things into the meta, and that's not like a healthy way to like because I think that at the end of the day, what Riot wants when they talk about their game is there to be like some skill expression in your itemization, right? So like they want it to be like yeah. So it's like ooh, are you like a Trinity Force or are you a Blade of the Root and King Aurelia? Like which one do you like? Like it depends. Like so there's more sustain on the Aurelia
or a Leandre guy.
Yeah, like it's supposed to be like something where you can choose the way you want to play the game and you can express yourself in that way. But instead, what Riot does is they just make things like ridiculously OP. So it's like doesn't fucking matter if you like Triforce Aurelia. Like, I don't give a fuck if you like Triforce Aurelia. You have to go Blade in the Ruined King. It's like, well, what if we're into a squishy champion mid? Like, then should I go Triforce? No, you should still go Blade of the Ruined King because it's just OP in every fucking situation. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and wasn't touched in 10.6 either. So the guy's currently playing on 10.5. 10.6 hit last week, or hit this week. Hit this Tuesday? Or hit last Tuesday. And so, yeah. No changes coming for the pros as we approach playoffs here. Thank you for that breakdown, Dom. It was a long, lovely ride. Loco also hit us with the on board, not overboard, but I'm sure patch changes will be hitting in 10.7 to get us on board. So let's move on board now with the team that is doing a little bit better and changed it up according to their previous win-loss records per week, and that's everybody's favorite, even through Corona, TSM. TSM pulled the highest viewer ratings in their matches this week and last week. It's the first time where they did not go 0-2. Also the first time they did not go 2-0 since I think like all year, I believe. So TSM now second place with FlyQuest and EG. They went 1-1, took care of business against who did they beat? GG? Yeah, they beat Golden Guardians, but then stumbled against Immortals. Like Smithy coming on in and
I
giving
hate seeing Immortals win games.
Dom's personal friends with Broken Blade, and I'm sure some of the TSM players, and then he fucking hates Immortals with a passion. I'm sure that game.
I hate watching Immortals play. They're like such an uninspiring team to watch play. Like I'm never like holy shit, like that was sick in an Immortals game. It's like I guess they fucking win. Like it just never is exciting. Like they just have no firepower on that team, and the reason why I don't like Immortals is because I can't see them going any further than like bottom tier of like playoffs, right? So I feel like they could qualify for playoffs and just get dicked the first round. I can't see them ever like having an exciting performance where they just like for example, EG I can be excited about. You know, like I can see Jizuke going like faker mode, Svenskeren going MVP mode, and just like them just being able to beat some of these like top teams, right? Like maybe there's a world where EG can beat TSM and make it to finals. And then it's like you get a C9 versus EG finals. That could make me hype. I just see no fucking like way that Immortals can beat top teams consistently. Like they won off this draft, and it's like so crazy to me when I see these teams lose games to Immortals, because every time that I talk to any pro player, they always say that Immortals is like the worst team in the league. Like every pro player that I talk to on every team, yes,
they're not
like
even
teams.
They're
yes. Yeah, they're like 5th or 6th, right? They're like, I think they're 5th.
Oh, they're 5th. Sorry. They're sorry.
Are they 5th? They should be still 50-50, right? Yeah, they're 50-50. They're 8-8.
But if you look at the games that they've won, right? It just always looks like so fucking bad. Like this game that they won, I don't know what happened to TSM's draft, but they ended up just giving over Ornn for free. They're like, okay, yeah, we'll just give them Ornn and then we just take Gangplank. And they didn't even get Xayah Rakan. Like they weren't like, hey, we're trading Ornn for Xayah Rakan. They're like, we're trading Ornn for Xayah Gangplank. It's like, what the fuck? Like, you can't get Xayah Gangplank in a later rotation. Like, you have to give everything right there. Like, what is the point of that? Like, why are you banning the set? That's my question. It's like, if they ban Aatrox, right? Why are you then banning the set and then giving them the Ornn? Why are you not just letting them take Ornn and then getting set? Or why are you not willing to have Broken Blade play Ornn into set like he did versus Kumo 3 weeks ago, where he actually just shit on the set as Ornn? Like, you can play both sides of that matchup, and you love set, so they're going to have to take set, and then they're more uncomfortable. Like, why do you have to ban set after they ban Aatrox? Because obviously they wanted to play Aatrox into Ornn, right? Yeah. That was their mentality. That was their counter pick. Why not just leave both up and just take one?
I think things got really awkward when they banned Aatrox on 3, and they might have had set 3 bans going into the match. They're like, we have to ban these 3. We have to ban Aphelios, Ornn, or Aphelios, Fed. I forgot what was
Senna
it.
And Senna.
Yeah, Senna. They had set 3 bans, and they were going to ban those almost no matter what, and things got awkward when the Aatrox was there. But also, I don't think the Ornn Aatrox or Ornn set matchup is as playable now, And I don't think you should almost. Maybe the only trade I would make is they get Set, I get Senna +1. Like, Ornn into Set does not seem as good anymore. The brittle nerf, the items nerf, like, it just isn't a matchup I want to opt into. And I think the thing they were afraid of was we take Xayah Rakan, they have Ornn first pick, they take Gangplank as a bonus because Foaz plays Gangplank, and their solo laners are Ornn mid with Gangplank top.
Yeah, exactly. I address this point. And it's like, there's nothing. So if a team blind picks, like shows both solo laners, they show Ornn Gangplank, there's really nothing you can pick into Ornn Gangplank. Like, there has to be champions that beat Ornn mid, and there has to be champions that beat Gangplank top. So in my mind, like, I feel like you would just pick things that are better for that situation. I think that that's completely better for you than if they just get Ornn with no counter matchup versus like, and then Orianna, and they just like, you look at Immortals team comp and it looks so solid, right? It's Ornn, J4, Orianna, and then they have Rakan, and I think they had Ezreal that game.
Yeah, that's
So that's their team. It just looks so much more fucking solid than if you just decide to give the enemy team, or like if you decide to like give the enemy team Ornn GP. I feel like Ornn GP is not like an auto win.
And a huge problem with like the Xayah Rakan thing that we also talked about before is Xayah can't get winning matchups without Rakan. Rakan can get winning matchups without Xayah. So even on like the Xayah Rakan trade, you're actually losing out. So there's
so what people say here. So what pro players are afraid of, if you take Xayah Rakan 1-2, is just getting Kate Morged and then just getting perma shoved in. But I just still think that these matchups that are supposed to be these like hard lane counters in LCS, I would almost just take the champions like that are stronger every time. You know, it's like the same way that I view Aatrox, like the Xayah Rakan.
But
that's the same way I view it.
People do the double rotation of Xayah Rakan all the time. And when they do the Kate Morg, if they do or use Xayah Rakan, Kate Morg, pick your jungler on 3 and start banning junglers, and then now jungler's fucked. So there's also other problems you can cause for the team.
Yeah, because just gank the fucking like that. Yeah, it's exactly what I think too. Is you just end up ganking. Like, let's say in this draft, you take Xayah Rakan, they take Ornn, and then they take Kate Morg, and you're afraid of that, and then you just take Pantheon jungle, and then you ban out the counters to Pantheon jungle. Mm-hmm. It's like, what? Like the fucking Morg can't save everyone with Black Shield. That's the way that you beat Kate Morg in lane. Like, if you kill a Kate Morg one time,
that lane is fucked. They need to lane kingdom on you.
Yeah, they have to like be up like 30 CS, taking plates by themselves, perma pushing into your turret, like all that shit.
Mm. And also the other thing, like I thought the Diana was actually terrible. So Bjergsen hovered 2 picks before locking in Diana. He hovered Zillion and then he hovered Azir. I don't think Zillion's possible in that comp. With Zillion, you need melee enablers, like melee carries.
You need like Pantheon or Jarvan as a jungler.
I mean, people are going to mention, but Gangplank is a melee carry. He's actually not. Gangplank is a ranged champion disguised as a melee champion. You have your gun, you have your barrels. Most of the time, you're doing damage from range, and you only actually commit to autos whenever it is 100% safe to do so in team fights or in a split push situation. But most of the time, you're a ranged champion. I actually think the Azir was more of the correct choice. You would be you're just trying to upscale. The argument against Azir would be they have Ezreal, you're going to get poked. It's really hard to play Azir in that situation. But
I think the other thing that makes it so scary is that like Azir is really hard to play when you can get engaged on so easily. So when you're playing into Ornn, Rakan, Jarvan, I feel like playing like a backliner that's susceptible to being engaged on that doesn't really have the tools to deal with it is just gonna get fucked. Like, you just Ornn ult, and then what does Azir do? He has to like try to E away. If Rakan just flashes on him, he's just dead.
And then the problem with Diana is you're running a flank champion into 2 tanks. As a flank champion, you never want to be versus 2 tanks in general because you have 1 tank for frontline and 1 tank marking you. You see it a lot when G2 plays. They don't do it with a tank, but they do it a lot with their jungler. Jankos is usually on mark the flanker duty. Whenever he's on Olaf, he's chasing the Kiana. He's just chasing whoever's trying to be flanking your team. So it makes it really hard. But also TSM as a team does not function well when Bjergsen's on a flank champion. So I try to remember the last time like Bjergsen I try to remember when Bjergsen played like a flank champion well. Like, he had that disastrous Maokai game. You have to go farther back, and it's when he was playing stuff like Lissandra LeBlanc. And Lissandra LeBlanc flank really differently than champions like Aatrox and Diana. Aatrox and Diana, they're not as elusive, where LeBlanc and Lissandra, you can come in from like a bad angle and you still have a lot of ways to function, and it doesn't matter if you're caught out, you can always escape. Like Diana and Aatrox, once you're committed to a flank angle, you either go in or you just exit all the way. Like you have no in
It's pretty
between.
binary.
Yeah. So they always functioned as Broken Blade being that flanker and Bjergsen being grouped with the team. And I think it really showed in game. There was only one time where Bjergsen flanked well, and it was when he was hiding in mid brush, and it was Immortals that engaged, and he was able to get on Ezreal and Ori. But it seemed like he did not know how to flank, or the team didn't know how to play with Bjergsen on flank champ.
I think it's not even that. I think that Diana can actually just not flank there. Because if you just because you have no way to follow up his flank, right? Like it's if he goes in, like you have to when you opt into playing like Xayah GP, you have to kill frontline. Those champions just have no way to get to the backline. So and especially with like Sejuani, it's not like you have a diving jungler that can also do damage, or like you have like a Lee Sin that can kick somebody. I feel that it's actually impossible to flank. So the only way that they can win those team fights is he literally just needs to like sit in the flank and just zone the enemy backline by not going in. Because if he goes in, he just loses. Like there's no way that he's going to be able to one-shot an Ezreal Orianna just with like a Rakan that's going to come back and shield like in the fight. Like they're never going to win front to back. That's why I think it's such a bad team comp. Is you can't ever kill the Orion, you can't ever kill the their front line is way bigger. You can't win
and your back lane is weaker. They have stronger front line, and your back lane is weaker.
Yep.
So naturally, they still have to look for those flank angles at the very least. Like if Bjergsen's on the same side as the rest of the team, they have 0% shot at winning the fight. At least
I think
they have a slight chance.
And you saw what ended up happening is like Bjergsen identified that he could never go in, right? Like as Diana, he knows his damage. Like he plays the champion. He realizes like even based off his items, it's not like he built to like one shot the Ezreal. He went proto belt Zanyas, right? He's just trying to buy time. So what ended up happening is they won a couple of fights where Bjergsen was like able to like hold the flank position without actually flanking, and Orianna and Ezreal were just forced to like respect him. Like they won a couple fights like that, and as soon as the enemy team realized, hey, we just have to go on the flanker. If we just fucking go on the Diana, there's nothing the TSM can do. They just kill the Diana every fight, or zone the Diana, force the Zanyas out, and TSM just had no way to win the game. It was a hard out draft from Immortals. That was a draft kingdom.
Yeah.
How do you easy swap? What would you go there instead of the Diana?
I mean, I think Azir is like their best option. Just be a team fight comp, backline to backline. But I think it's really weird for TSM to opt into Gangplank versus Immortals. Why do you need to scale versus Immortals? You're TSM. Like, you know what you guys do well, right? You have Broken Blade on a carry, and you funnel through Broken Blade, and Bjergsen's on more of the facilitator champions. Like, let Broken Blade be the carry. I think the last game where I remembered where TSM played through Bjergsen and it looked really good was the Irelia game. Just give it all to Broken Blade.
Yeah, I mean, I think that maybe like the best pick you can do there is something like Cassiopeia, because I don't even think that like Azir can survive that. Whereas at least Cassiopeia can deter the Rakan engage to some degree with like Miasma. Whereas like I feel like Azir is just gonna die in the backline. So
even with Cassio, like the situation's really awkward. For them to really fix the draft, I think it has to go a lot earlier.
Well, I think that the pick they actually need to. So the time you can play into Orin, is. Like, I think, was it 100 Thieves that played into Orin with Aatrox Trundle? I feel like you need, like, you can actually pick, like, there, you don't, like, the Sejuani doesn't do almost anything because you're not actually having a stronger front line. I feel like if you're playing into those types of comps, you play Trundle so that you can melt the front line. So that's, like, actually the Trundle Cassio angle that we saw from TL. I think that's a game where you can go the Trundle Cassio because it's all about just killing frontline. So you use Pillar to try to zone, like, the Orianna backline, and then you just try to kill the front line with Trundle, and then Cassiopeia has Miasma to deter the Rakan.
I've never seen it done, and I haven't played on the new patch enough, but my kind of viewpoint is the Bladed Ruin King got buffed. Is it so impossible to play stuff like Renekton and be more early game focused? Because when I compare TSM and Immortals, I compare best early game team in the league in TSM along with C9 and the worst early game team in Immortals. So why not attack that angle where there's just a stark difference? Instead of being more like, hey, Cassio Trundle, we try to beat them later. Because I feel like that's TSM playing into Immortals when they don't need to at all.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that if that's the case, you can't be giving them Orin. You have to be giving them another champion. Like, if you want to give them, like, one of the top laners, it has to be, like...
Oh, then just give him Aphelios. Yeah. Then Orin set, and then give him Aphelios, and then just run that.
Yeah, or you just give them... Because Renekton actually can play more into set and Aatrox than it can into Orin. Like, it's still, like, not a good matchup into the Orin. Whereas into, like, set, at least there is some degree of counterplay. Like, people have picked Renekton to set before, so the idea is obviously the W shield breaks now. So if the set like gets that massive shield on W, you can save your W for that. And you just break his shield and like try to like play a mind game there. And then eventually like maybe you can do something later on. I just think that in general, just you're giving the most, and then their bans were like so cringe of this game. Like, my God, they banned Qiyana into Ica after we saw Ica's Qiyana performance versus TL. Like, what is wrong with your mind that you saw that Qiyana and you're like, yep, that needs to be banned, bro. Can't play against Qiyana. Just because you played against somebody's Qiyana in scrims and they dick you, okay, whatever, TSM. You scrim C9 and Niski's Qiyana just shit on you. Don't take away from that. We can't play against Qiyana. We can't play against Niski's Qiyana. We can play into Ica's Qiyana. Like, let me tell you that. Like, Ica's Qiyana is definitely playable every single time. So, in my mind, it's just, I don't know, man. I just really don't like the draft. I think that is just the biggest issue. That was just such a hard out draft.
Another thing I want to touch on is TSM bot lane. It was in the game versus Golden Guardians. I actually think there's some problems within the bot lane being patient. They're in a situation where topside is just getting demolished, but they will not get the fuck off of turret. They will not stay the fuck back bot side. And it wasn't very much highlighted because they won that game anyways. But there's so many situations where I'm like, Biofrost, Kabe, why are you guys still on turret? Why are you guys still playing forward? You guys are winning so hard from topside. All you have to do is breathe, walk back. No way they get anything bot side.
They probably just want to feel like they're part of the team too. It's like, don't worry, guys. We're still doing stuff. We're not bad.
But they're just like, there's things I see on TSM where they're winning so much, so I don't think it gets exposed enough. But also like Dardoch just engaging fights that he never should be doing.
Yeah.
It shows so much in the Immortals game. He's on a different page than the rest of the team. There isn't good communication.
Well, even the first game that they played into Golden Guardians, I thought like half of his Sedge engages were just way too far. Like, he does, like, I don't know. It feels like he just overforces consistently. Like, he would go under the tier 2. And it's like, yeah, maybe he trades his flash for like the enemy 80 carries flash, but the better play is to just like sit there in front of your team and just pressure the turret. Like, the threat of your ult and the threat of your flash is more important than actually like throwing your skills.
I think Closer also had really similar problems, something that you mentioned.
Yep.
But they have really good mechanics and bad read on skirmishes. They're like opening or engaging fights, like they can't ever win. And C9 and Blabber really talked about this on one of the C9 like episodes. So Blabber had the same problem. Blabber always had good mechanics, but he had bad reads on skirmishes. So what they did was work with him on looking at different angles and things that he should be calculating before opening the fight. And they also had rest of C9 kind of look at the angles for him. So he's doing like mini check with like teammates before he's like going in. It's not just I see something and I'm going in.
Yeah, it's literally like you have like a pit bull and you just like keep him on the fucking leash and you're like, all right, Blabber, not yet. And then Niski's like, all right, get him, boy, get him. And then he just like jumps at the other guy, fucking predators in, flash E with Gragas. He's going to land the flash E ulti combo every single time. But you just got to hold him back and tell him when to do it.
But they're developing a system where it is a lot easier for Blabber to play better. And it kind of clicked for me. Oh, this is like the little things that C9 does where it makes it so the players always look so good on C9 and not so good outside of it because they're creating systems where they rely on each other and doing little things like this where it makes the player better than he is. And it's sometimes Band-Aid solutions to actually really big problems. So
no, but that's the thing is like when you do those Band-Aids, it makes the player better eventually because he's doing the right thing. It's like you're building good habits within the player, even if somebody else is helping them along the way, where it feels like the way that other teams deal with problems. Like when you listen to like TL and you like watch their episodes, it seems like the way the feedback is given is like, all right, you're bad at this, you need to improve on it. Where it's like, in reality, it's like, hey, if you're so good at it, like, all right, like if you're so good at reading these situations, why don't you just fucking like help your player and like, you know, do it. But like other people don't want to take that extra responsibility, which is what's going to make like a fucking championship team, like a really fucking good team. It's not like, oh, you have this issue, fucking deal with it yourself. It's like, yeah, everyone needs to be working on the issue together. It's not like one player has an issue, your team has an issue within a player.
So finishing my thoughts on TSM, I think there's a version of TSM that's really fucking good. Bjergsen on Syndra, Bjergsen on Zillion, playing through Broken Blade, bot lane on Xayah Rakan. Also, guys, just fucking play Ezreal. Like, the role that you're playing on the team is the weak side. Ezreal is one of the best champions at it. Just fucking play Ezreal. Like, that version of TSM is really good. But when they get pushed off being that TSM, I actually think this team is really problematic, and they have to start looking for solutions.
I think their biggest issue is draft, personally. Like, I think that they just get some weird fucking bad drafts every now and then. I don't know what what the reasoning is for them getting such horrible drafts, but almost every time that TSM loses, I look at the draft and it's like, what the fuck? This is like a Kale Maokai game. Then I look at this draft, it's like, wait, this is a GP Diana game. It's like, you look at both drafts, right? And you see one is Sejuani Aatrox with Syndra, and you're like, oh, that looks immediately 50 times better than your GP Sejuani Diana draft. You know, and like obviously there's some things that factor in there. It's like so since GP wants to play from range, like you said, I think that part of it was like, hey, we want to draft the Sejuani with the Diana, so like that Diana helps give the Sejuani more agency because Diana's actually going to auto attack and like proc the passive, so like you have at least a synergy there. But in reality, it's just like you don't need those small, like your whole comp doesn't need to function completely like that. You just need to draft like stronger champions and have like minor synergies.
At least cohesively, it has to make sense overall. But yeah, the minor synergies can help.
All right. Well, I think
wait. One final point, because it's something. Yeah. What do you think about Dardoch's champion pool right now? I think he's playing champions that he doesn't want to be playing.
Yeah.
I checked this last game. It's like Seju Jarvan. He wants to be Lee Gragas Rek'Sai, Lee Gragas Rek'Sai, Lee Gragas Rek'Sai.
I don't think he necessarily wants that. Like, I think that he just wants to like not be early picking his jungler. Like, I think that he's fine playing like whatever. I just think that he wants to like have a good matchup for himself. Like, he doesn't want it to be like, all right, guys, I picked for the team, and it's like, oh, we lost. Like, I feel like he wants to be the one that has the power to like have a good game for himself. Whereas like the draft resources almost always go into like BB.
The thing is, if you can draft Lee Sin early, you can draft Gragas early, Pantheon early, and you'll still have control over the game. But when you're Sejuani Jarvan, you have to work with everyone else to get stuff done. And that is not the Dardoch angle. The Dardoch angle is, I'm stronger than the other jungler. I can get something done right here. I can punish them in this way. And those are his strengths, and he's not allowed to do that. And I think that's going to be frustrating for him. And like constantly playing these tank jungles over and over again, it's going to build up. And it's I'd have to imagine this is a point.
You think he's just going to fucking lose it at some point?
That was it.
This might be the part of the reason. Like, you're not enabling Dardoch to be Dardoch, and it has to hurt for him.
He's just gonna fucking spaz out and call Broken Blade a Pislo and then just take control of the team.
Am I the only one thinking this? Like, Dardoch's playing Sejuani Jarvan over and over again. He's being forced into a box that he doesn't want to be in. This must be a point of friction within TSM.
He's winning. He's finding success. He's on a starting team.
I don't even know if he's winning. Like, it doesn't even feel like he's winning. Like, it feels like he just doesn't want to be playing Sejuani. It just looks so uninspired.
No one else thinks this, like, that this isn't like causing friction within the team. Like, Dardoch is not happy anytime he's getting these picks. And
I think that it's fine if they win. You know, like, I think that he's gonna be the type of person where it's like, yeah, whatever, dude, I'll pick for the team. Sejuani again, give it to me. Like, he'll say some like passive aggressive, like sarcastic shit like that. Like, knowing him, I would think that would be the case. But then if they fucking lose, it's like, well, can't do anything because I'm on Sejuani. You want to win games? Maybe draft me Pantheon. And then he's just gonna fucking like.
If that's the friction you're talking about, Loco, I think it's that. But I don't think it's destructive.
There's being bought in and playing Sejuani Jarvan. As Dom said, like, he doesn't look like he's having fun, and like, okay, maybe I'm the only one thinking this. Maybe I'm overlooking it. Or maybe I'm just biased against Dardoch, but like, it looks to me like this is going to be a point of
I agree with the fact that Dardoch does not look happy playing Sejuani.
I don't think
almost every Sejuani loss they've had, it just looks like weird. It looks like he's just not even like how many Sejuani ults did he miss in that last game? You know, like, he's a good enough player where he has the mechanics to hit Sejuani ult, but it's just like, it looks just so like it doesn't look like he's like spending the time that he's playing Sejuani on like trying to be the best Sejuani player. He just views Sejuani as like some like fucking like anyone can play Sejuani.
It's a rite of passage as a jungler.
Yeah, no, he views like Sejuani as like, who can't play Sejuani, you know? Not like a shit, I'm gonna be the best Sejuani. You know, because like even other players, like, so there's a whole meme about Yanko's Sejuani, right? Where Yankos is like, please, no more Sejuani, like all that type of shit. But when you watch Yankos play Sejuani, Yankos actually, Yankos has a clean fucking Sejuani. Like, that motherfucker is good at Sejuani, right? But the way that Yankos views it is like, no, I'm a smurf so fucking hard on Pantheon that you can't even put me on Sejuani. It's like, you know how good my Sejuani is, but look at what I can do with Pantheon. 12-0, motherfucker. I'm a 1v9. Like, Like he's viewing it as like, I got to play so well on other champions that my good Sejuani is still not even the best pick for us.
Yeah, and also as a coach, it's hard to push players off a pick if they're like half-assing it. Like you feel like you're giving into like, oh, like them throwing a
bad
tantrum.
attitude.
Yeah. It's a catch-22. Like you don't like you constantly pick him Sejuani Jarvan. You make the situation worse. You let him play Lee Rek'Sai, then you're giving into the attitude.
I'll just say I don't think I hopped on this Dardoch train, Loco, because you kind of pushed it really hard. Like I don't think you're wrong. I think it all kind of makes sense, but you definitely looked a little people that don't watch the video or watching this on audio like can't see like how triggered Loco kind of is about like seeing this behavior in the past and seeing like, oh, it's following the same trend that happened to me before.
Look at his PTSD. He's a fucking battered housewife here.
And with Dardoch, I think you've been insanely fair. But this was like, hey, like things are going well, dude. Like they're gonna make playoffs. They've righted the ship. Like I think, yeah, he could be a little bummed out or be a little shit about playing Sejuani, but I don't think that's leading to the cracks of like he's about to explode TSM. I think TSM has other gameplay things that they can work on first before they look at Dardoch's attitude. So that does it here. We hit most of the top teams. 100 Thieves, FlyQuest also in that contention area. I think Ryoma had a couple of solid Orianna ults and had himself a good week. And FlyQuest, they go 1-1. Dom, touch real quick on the solos lane getting fucked by minions thing. I didn't.
Oh, this is some bullshit that just shouldn't be in the game. So he obviously fucked up going back in versus the Trundle and having to burn his TP.
Yeah.
But there's like a concept that not many people are familiar with in League called like creep split. So the wave doesn't actually interact the same way every single time. Like based on like how the minions crash, sometimes like the push will go one way or the other. And in the Ornn versus Aatrox matchup, you actually can't let the wave, like the Aatrox can't get a freeze on the Ornn early, or Ornn can't fucking lane. He can never contest the wave. And in that game, the wave just naturally froze on Sunday's side. So that's why Ornn was just 0 CS for the first like 3 minutes of the game up until they got that Rek'Sai gank top. Which worked and that saved the game, but that game could have been just purely lost off the creep split, even if they both played it well. So like even if Solo just walks the lane there, Trundle obviously gets Prio on top side because he's the one that gets the red buff. So Trundle can gank him at any point, and the wave's freezing away from him. Even if he has flash, he can die there so easily. So this is just something that I hate that's in the game. I've always hated like creep split being uneven every time. I think the wave should evenly interact every single time. Like it should be even. And then based on like how the laners play, like if people are last hitting at higher health, like maybe the wave pushes, or if like one of the laners walks into the bush and freezes the lane, then he gets the freeze. Like I feel like those things should exist, but I don't think natural freezes should exist in the game. I think it's just bullshit.
Yeah. I wanted to find it just to show it real quick. Go ahead, Loco.
One thing I do want to talk about is like the solo thing. I'm really glad to see him do well. I know like this show has like, or Dom specifically does not like solo, but I think he's definitely one of the best NA tops. I think behind Licorice and Haunter, there's no one that is clearly better. And like Licorice is like the only person where you're like definitely above solo. Like there can be arguments made for Haunter versus solo. And also he's a really, really proud person. And he's a little bit of an egotistical person. He'll never say it openly, but not playing in LCS definitely wasn't easy for his mental. So yeah, I think he's perfectly fine whenever you do get to know him, whenever you get to see him in person and actually interact with him as a teammate. He can be a little testy online, like he can be a little keyboard warrior, but yeah, really, I think he's very much deserving of the spot and really glad to see him play. FlyQuest was a team that desperately needed a top laner, so I think it's a perfect fit all the way around.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Viper was having his own problems this split, so I think it makes sense Solo coming in. I mean, if that's the decision they made, I assume that he was playing better in scrims. He still doesn't look completely like synced with the team yet, but yeah, I think that he played solidly. You know, like I would just ride with him until the end of the split based on what we saw.
Yeah, FlyQuest,
or like into the
they PR'd it up. They said they're testing out Solo, top lane coach Solo That's
He
what
was
they
never
said
going
in
to
the
be
assignment.
coach. He was
Yeah.
never ever going to be coach.
That's bullshit, by the way, when teams say that. When teams get like a one player and they're like, oh, this guy is like an individual
Mid lane
coach.
Poe Belter.
If this person is going to be coach, then he should not be on your roster. Because as a coach, you can't be on an active roster. Solo was on the active roster from the get-go. So sure, they can talk about him as a coach, but does Viper really want someone that could potentially replace him coaching him? That's going to be a really awkward relationship.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
I
definitely.
can't-
It's like Solo's like higher rated than him in solo queue, spamming games right next to him. Like, ha, I'm just your coach, by the way.
Like, if you're going to coach me, then you should not also be vying for my job. Like, that's not the relationship to have. So yeah, I don't think he was ever the coach.
All right, well, we'll get to see how FlyQuest does here in that three-way tie for second place. Yeah, and that's it for the teams and the matches. We have 1 week left before we get to tiebreakers. Only a 42% chance for FlyQuest to make it on through. I think behind them were Dignitas at 22%. They're at 12%. And Golden Guardians with 7% to force tiebreakers and try to work their way into playoffs. So we'll look forward to that. But as we get closer to the end of every split, the three of us get together, put together our power rankings. Always fun. It's been a lot of fun to see you guys interact with us on Twitter and throw some shade, and definitely some shade in this one as we move to the bot lane. Me and Doms are a little bit closer than Locos.
Yours and Dom's are a little bit closer because you just copy whatever's there.
That is not true.
That is 100% true.
That is not true. I have Apollo highly rated, but not as highly rated as one of our experts as we hop on in here. Sven, number one, obviously. Bang. You know what? We have our Korean biased expert here that we always throw a lot of shade on. That Loco is always supporting the Koreans, but maybe at the end of the split.
I don't think I've ever been super Korean biased because most of the Korean personally.
biased.
Who have I been biased for?
other than
Phoenix and Piglet.
Phoenix, Piglet, Crown.
What? Phoenix?
Phoenix and Piglet. When I was on TL with you, I felt like you were Korean biased. That's all I'll say.
So for Phoenix and Piglet, that's completely different because Daniel's talking about me rating players. I don't think I ever rate Phoenix or Piglet highly. I wasn't biased against Phoenix and Piglet, or I wasn't biased for Phoenix and Piglet. I treated them differently than I treated you because they needed to be treated differently for them to function. I needed to treat you in a different way than I treat Phoenix and Piglet. If I treat you guys the same way, we don't have a functioning team.
Perhaps.
I agree with that
Maybe.
assessment. Definitely Crown, though.
Crown was really good, and he just fell off the face of the earth. But anyways, let's go on with our tier list.
Yeah,
I disagree. I believe that Piglet might have needed a reality check at some point.
I definitely gave him the reality check. He cried the first day I started coaching him. I'm
Look,
not sure
you made him cry?
I talked to him I think the way you're behaving and the way you're acting on the team is actually negatively contributing. I get that you're a world champion. You're not a world champion here, and your behavior actually is shitting on the team. You're a huge reason why the team is bad. And he did cry. He cried hearing that. And I told him for me and you to work together and for this team to function, there has to be a change in behavior.
Actually,
Did the change in behavior ever come?
It came, and I think one thing I really fucked up with Piglet was he's actually a really emotional person, and he's a people person. I have my own personal life, and I try to keep it away from the team. But one thing that Piglet really wanted was for me to go drinking with him and spend time with him. And I thought it would not be the best thing for our relationship, but it's actually something that I should have done. I should have taken personal time to spend with Piglet and gone drinking with him, go karaoke with him. And I think that actually would have really changed in terms of Piglet listening more and Piglet just being more bought into the team.
Drinking was the solution. Holy fuck.
It actually was a solution. It actually was a solution. Taking personal time to spend with Piglet and doing things he likes was the solution.
I feel that. I always could tell that he liked going to Korean barbecue and drinking soju with people. He just enjoyed that. He just felt closer to his teammates. And
there's people in chat that are like, oh my gosh, this is such crap. Hell no, you are his boss. Sometimes
you're not his boss, you're his coach. It's different.
Sometimes with esport players, you can't be their boss and have it function. Honestly, it just doesn't work that way sometimes. And in that situation, with who Piglet was as a person, he wasn't going to listen to a boss. He just has never. And that also has been Piglet's MO. So if you knew and understood Piglet, you would also see like that was not the right approach.
So two things. One, for everyone listening, hearing these two talk about their team Liquid Times is just the coolest. It's so cool to hear. One, both of them being in TL at that time, esports at that time. Two, working together in their own perspectives on how things happen. Again, Breaking Point doesn't do it justice. It really does not do it justice. It's not.
Well, I mean, it was after I think that the point that was
for Loco,
like, because Breaking Point was like a culmination of what was happening within the team, but like there was like a whole period of that season 6 TL team, which was like the whole preseason, and then like the Quas thing fucking happening, and then like the interactions between Piglet and Smoothie originally before Loco even came in, and then like. There was a whole the team was toxic from the first time we like got together that split. Like the first time that Loco came in to talk, this is like how Loco became our coach. So Loco was originally the content creator, right? Mm-hmm. So Loco was in the house like streaming like in the floor above us, and at the time he was like getting good viewership, all that stuff. That was like him right coming off TSM, right? And the reason that Loco came down to talk to us is because the problems between me and Piglet got so bad that I literally refused to scrim. I'm like, if you don't agree with me on this one point, I will not play the game with you anymore. So we literally canceled scrims. I was like, I'm not playing. Like, get Dardock in here. I'm not playing. Let's cancel fucking scrims. And Loco came down and had like a talk, but like, cause he was like the person that could translate Korean the best. And he's the one that like facilitated the talk between me and Piglet to like get to the point where we were even willing to like scrim on the same team, because I refuse, because the mentality was that if the mentality that we were going to have was that if bot lane is ever winning, I need to go bot regardless. And I'm sure the Loco remembers the same argument. And I was just saying, I will not just go bot every single time you are winning. There are 3 fucking lanes and we can't just only play around one lane the entire time. And that was the argument.
I don't think we don't have to go that much to the Breaking Point. I think we went enough into it. Let's go to
we didn't have to.
I mean, this is like not even Breaking Point. This is like the original shit. Yeah. This is how you got to Breaking Point.
My point is
we should have our own. We should have our own.
We will. I'll wrap this up. My point is,
once Corona's over, come over to my place, or I'll go over. We should actually just come over to one of our places, sit on our couch, stream us all watching Breaking Point.
My point is, when Loco gets real defensive about those types of things, there's a reason why, and that's why as much as I set him up and that was my fault, Loco, like there's a whole ton of stories there, and so that's why we clarify them one at a time. All right, so now explain why Apollo is your number 280 carry, Loco.
Yeah, no, I never knew that Loco was on drugs until I saw Apollo at number 2, and then it's just guaranteed at this point.
See everyone's list.
No, that's the first thing. It goes like it pops out. We're all Sven. Bang is lower, and we have Johnson all at 3. So you have Apollo.
I will say we made this list really quickly, and I thought back on the games. I'm like, Apollo's been good.
He has been.
He got a pentakill.
No, well, I was thinking like the Ezreal game and stuff. Apollo hasn't been making mistakes, and he's been consistently getting leads. Like him and Haku have been good. Maybe 2 is high, but I'm very surprised to see him at 8. I can easily make the argument he's better than Turtle and FBI.
Yep.
Maybe not 2, but Turtle. What's your argument for? I'll come down a little, but what's your argument for him being worth?
Okay, so I think that Apollo has like, he just doesn't do anything in like, he doesn't seem special in any way to me. He's just like there in the back line, and then if his team's winning, he'll win, and if his team's losing, he'll lose. I'm not sure what his record is since they swapped, but the only games I remember him winning were against TL, which was the Pentakill Aphelios game, where TL just like ran it down the entire game. And the other game was like the CLG one, I'm pretty sure. So I'm just like not high on the way that, the TSM one that just happened. But I'm just not high on like the way that he plays. He just seems like he's just there for his team. I think Turtle, like, I'm just giving him credit because there have been games where he's played well, or he's like not losing the team the game. Like, he has more opportunity to shine. I think that his team covers for him pretty well, but he also has to play a lot of situations without a support because his support is like literally roaming the entire game.
That's the only harder thing that Turtle has to do, though. His support roams way more than Apollo's does. In every other way, Turtle has an easier job than Apollo.
Sure, but I just don't think that Apollo has had like the highs that I would just say that he's like any different. Like, I don't. So, for example, if Apollo was playing all those games instead of Altec, like I don't think that it would be much different. And also, I think Altec had a much higher win rate than Apollo.
Then if Apollo's playing instead of Turtle, do you think FlyQuest doesn't look better?
I think they look the same. I think they look the same. I think Turtle's been like relatively bad, but I don't think that he's been the reason that they've lost like that many games. Like for example, like when I look at like their last like RE game that they played, I don't think that Turtle can carry that game. Like it hasn't really mattered. It hasn't been like last split, in my opinion, when Turtle was just getting caught and just like losing his team the game alone. Like It wasn't that type of FlyQuest. It's kind of just like when they win, they win, they lose. But like, yeah, I mean, I view them like as pretty much like similar players. Like, I don't think there'd be any difference if either of them swapped.
Okay, what about for FBI? I think FBI is good in lane and everything else.
Okay, so I think FBI is better than Apollo in lane. I think that he's able to get advantages. He's had a harder job because he had to play with Keith McBrief as a support, and he's had way more pop-off games. Like, FBI has had games where he's like carried, and he's actually like had an effect on the game. Like, there's like that Aphelios game where he just like 1v9 like against TL, I'm pretty sure. He's just had I think that he's had high highs and low lows. But overall, I think that like I'd rather see that in a player, you know? Like I've seen the shining light. Apollo, I feel like it's the same Apollo that we've always seen. Like I just don't see him ever being better than like a middle to bottom of the pack AD carry.
I guess if I redid my list, I would put Apollo below Bang, maybe below Kabe, but I still see him as better than Cody, FBI, Turtle, Double. Double's like, it's so weird to put Double so low. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It feels weird.
It's not weird for you?
No. What do you mean?
He's the most winningest player ever in LCS, and we're putting in like 8 or 9, and then it's not weird.
Well, I guess it's not weird at this point because I've got to see him int for 8 weeks. So it's like when you like, maybe it would be weird if I just did this at like week 3 when he started like really running it down, when I was like, holy shit, man, maybe he really can't play Senna. Like then it would be like, man, maybe is this an overreaction or not or something? But at this point, it's just like, yeah, I mean, this is just like, I am completely okay with him just becoming a beast again and and putting him number 1 like I did last year. I'm completely okay with doing that if that just ends up being what it is. But I'm just trying to be like neutral and unbiased and not let that affect my perception of him. And he's on one of the worst he's on one of the worst teams already. So it's not like I'm putting him 9th when the team's like fucking like in 2nd place or something, right? Like that's harder for me to do. Like it's harder for me to put Turtle 7th when the team's in 2nd than it is for me to put Double in 9th when the team's like 8th or tied for 7th, 8th, and 9th, right? 7th, 8th, and 9th are all tied. I think that it's like, yeah, it's Dignitas, Golden Guardians, and TL, right?
Yeah.
Those 3 are all
the tiebreakers for TL.
7 and 9 right now, I believe.
Yeah.
So for me, that's like completely. That's just it's like, dude, you're on one of the worst teams. Like you should be. Like if you're in 9th place, putting him in 9th. Like if your team's in 9th place, putting you as 9th place AD carry is not hard for me.
Sorry, he's they're 7th. They're 7 and 9. Dig and GGS are 6 and 10. They're tied. For me,
GGS are 6 and 10.
Yeah, for me, the thing that was also surprising was like, damn, is Johnson number 2? Like, and he's kind of stuck on that team, you know. And as we're going through, like, who's better than Johnson? I didn't think Apollo. I thought Bang, right? Bang kind of makes sense here. He's been a constant force there for EG, but Johnson having this kind of a split is just. That's super cool. Like, yeah, I love my boy definitely. I think he's great, but it's been really cool to see Johnson be consistent and make some rookie mistakes, but then learn from them.
I think Johnson being 3 is not. Oh my god, Johnson is so amazing. Like Johnson is the next coming of Double if this. Holy fucking shit! Our NA AD carries are bad.
Yeah, I mean, at least like I don't know. At least he does something. Like you can look back on Johnson plays and be like, all right, that's clean as fuck. Like that was like that Kaisa play that he made. I was like, that's a good fucking play, man. Like the delayed penta, like just the way he played with the confidence to ult in, take the lantern out, the 1v1 that he had on the AD carry on the side. Like there's promise there, you know. Like there's something there. You get to see like some finesse. You get to see the potential greatness at points. Whereas the other AD carries, you don't get to see that. Like Kabi, what play has Kabi done this split that you remember?
Yep.
Has there been one? Has there been one play that he's done the entire split where you're like, shit, that was a fucking nice play from Kave?
With Kave, I just remember so much of the negative when he's on weak side. That's why it was hard for me to rate him really highly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Why did you have Bank lower than Johnson then?
What?
Like Kave does a good job playing safe, and he's on a good team, so he's able to output damage in fights later on sometimes.
I asked, why did you have Bang lower than Johnson then?
I think I probably should have had Bang higher. It's just Bang came in a lot later, but I agree. Bang should be higher.
I think Bang's been like pretty fucking solid the last weeks.
Yeah, and that was the other thing I was worried about. I was like, is this just recency bias with Bang? And
no, they found Bang a role where he can be really, really good. I think EG's just been really good at finding everything that works for their players. I have to commend like whoever did it, maybe their coaching staff, maybe players figured it out on their own, but all the roles that everyone is playing on the team is really what makes them good. Like they're not forcing Bang to be great early game. They're giving Jizuke and Sven all the tools that they need to be a force in the early game. So they're just playing on the highs of their players. Mm-hmm. Bang on 100 Thieves didn't look good because no one on 100 Thieves could carry the early game for Bang. But Bang on EG is completely different story.
Yeah. No, I think they've all kind of like found an identity within their team. It's like, okay, Jizuke is our fucking like it looks like they believe in each other too. Like they might not be the best team in the world, but like they treat it like, hey, we have carry players, we have role players, like we have draft, like who are we giving our resources to, right? Like they give Jizuke draft resource every single time. Like he's almost always last picking his mid laner, right? So he gets draft resource. They play with him as a carry. They give Bang solid picks. They always give him like playable matchups. And they just have like Svenskeren play relatively early game junglers. We haven't seen much Sejuani from him, things like that. It's mainly Lee Sin, Pantheon. He's playing Jarvan earlier in the split.
They're getting most out of their pieces for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So like they just play in a way that makes sense.
The other thing I want to mention is when you have bad teams and they're not getting the most out of their players, it's really hard to describe the team in like a simple manner. I think that's like a big problem I had with CLG and a big problem I had with FlyQuest, or not FlyQuest,
Dignitas, maybe?
Yeah, or no, CLG and Golden Guardians. Those are the two teams. When you try to describe the team, like what are they? Are they top side? Are they bot side? Are they good at early game? Like it's really hard to talk about CLG and GG. You can talk about like random tidbits of the team. Oh, Keith Ince. Oh, for CLG, Pobelter's been looking better. Oh, Smoothie still knows where to be on the team, but it's really hard to describe them as a whole, and they're not getting the most out of their pieces. The thing about Dignitas is it's easy to describe them. It's just their identity doesn't work for them.
Well, I mean, I just think that they like, why would you ever put Froggen on Kiana? Literally, when you put Froggen on Kiana, it looks like Froggen Kiana. Yeah. Like, if you took away the nameplates, I said this on my co-stream, if you took away the nameplates and I saw that Kiana without a name, I'd be like, that's either Ica or Froggen 100%. I'll stake my life on it based on that Kiana performance. Like, it has to be one of those two guys playing it, just based on how it looks. It's like the least aggressive Kiana you'll ever see in your life. It's like, okay, I'm down 10 CS, I'm farming. Oh, I got killed. Okay, game's over. Like, I'm not going to go for one play the entire game.
Yeah. The other thing about Dignitas is I think if Blade of the Ruin King buff came a lot sooner, they could have just doubled down on the Huni identity, but they were like in a weird situation.
Like they can't actually, like he can't actually win the matchups he's supposed to win. Dude, you have Huni into Kumo and you give Huni Fiora with the Blade of the Ruin King buff into Kumo. Like you had, like you're literally probably paid 10 times what Kumo's being paid right now. Like you're not even beating him with a counter pick, bro. So either Aatrox is just disgustingly OP, which could be the case, or Huni's just not that fucking good.
Maybe, just maybe.
Aatrox is OP. I don't want to believe. Aatrox must be OP. It has to be that. Last player I want to talk about is Stixxay. We've seen some highs from Stixxay, but we also saw some terrible, like Dagon level Varus ults in the game this week. He also got replaced by Wind for a little bit. It's back in. What do you do with Stixxay? Is this a Stixxay issue? Is this a move on from him? What
I mean, look, your team is in 10th place, right? If Pobelter's been looking good, like if your team's in 10th place, right? Pobelter's been looking pretty good. Smoothie's been looking like all right. Like, the other fucking players must be really, really 10th place to fucking keep them in 10th, right? Like, that means that your jungler, your top laner, your AD carry got to be fucking hard running it. And that's what we've been seeing. Like, I don't have any confidence. Like, I had Stixxay second last time we did the list, last split. When he was playing those Sona games and stuff like that, it looked like he was actually able to perform on the team. But, like, this is my problem with Stixxay. He's never a special player. He will never be, like, better than the team. He'll always just be performing like how the team is doing. If the team is popping off, he'll just, like, be in there. If the team is doing terrible, he'll just be in there as well. He's never able to, like, overperform. Whereas, like, you see other players, like Johnson has performed better than the rest of his team. You can look at Dignitas and be like, hey, man, this dude's doing well, even with the games going to shit. Like, you see, like, outplays from him. You see pop-off moments, etc. You see, like, him, like, having his team start a dog shit team fight, and he's still able to somehow, like, salvage it or, like, do the smart thing in the situation. It looks like Stixxay's like, oh, we started a dog shit team fight? Well, I'm going to run in and die with the rest of the fucking team. And he just sprints into the team fight, dies, and he's like, all right, well, did my job. I guess it was a bad team fight we started. You know, like, it's just never like anything. It's never anything like attractive to look at. It's never like, damn, that's that like finesse AD carry. Like, you always want to see those moments out of an AD carry, which is why I always have like Turtle kind of low on these. That's why I always have Apollo kind of low on these. I just don't see that AD carry mechanical like prowess that you see out of like when you look at like even like European AD carries. Almost all of them have that, right? Like, even the ones that are like here when you get into like FBI, Turtle, Apollo, Double If the Split, Stixxay, none of them have those moments. When you look at like even like the 7th place AD carries from Europe, like Patrick can still fucking pop off like that. Fucking Inax can even pop off like that. You see like these fucking players and it's like, god damn, these are like the worst, or like these are AD carries on bottom teams and they still have that level of finesse, and we just don't have it here.
The only thing I can disagree with you on is Stixxay did have pop-off moments in the past, but it's so fucking far.
Oh, season 6?
Far removed.
Season 6, his first split? Nice, dude.
It is so far fucking long ago where it's not fair to say and like talk about that regarding this relevance.
You're like the people in my chat that are like, dumb, like, I remember that Gragas play you made in like season 5. Like, you must still be good at Gragas. Yeah, versus Apollo, bro. Because Apollo, he was a bot back then, he's a bot right now. No, I'm just fucking kidding. But anyway, like, they're like, dude, you're good at Gragas in season 5. Why don't you play Gragas anymore? It's like, I don't know, I'm just not good at fucking Gragas anymore, bro. This was 5 years ago. Like, I was spamming Gragas before and the champion was different. Like, it's so weird.
And well, the other thing is Stixxay getting caught out is such a deadly like weakness to have as AD carry. As AD carry, you have to be dependable, and not dying is one of your best traits. Stixxay doesn't have that, so
nah, he dies in the most fucked up ways. Like, he dies in like literally insane ways. It's like it's just impossible to die there, right? Like, his team gets Baron and there's a Camille and he's just like solo pushing mid as Ezreal, and Soaz just kills him. It's like, wait, what? Like, Ezreal can't die. You have E, you have Flash, you can get from the middle of the lane back to your turret. How could you ever be in a position bad enough that you die in this situation? How can you get hit by a Cassio ult as an AD carry? How can you get hit by a Cassio ult as Ezreal when you're not on miasma? Is it possible? I don't think so. He did it though. He was able to accomplish it.
He's a miracle worker.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's Stixxay. Culmination of CLG's problems and failure to perform for quite some time, to the point where he got benched so that they could see what they had in Wind. It took the coronavirus scare to bench Win and put Stixxay back in, and he is at the bottom of our tier list. So that is the Facecheck bot lane tier list. We'll post it on Twitter. Make sure that you tweet at us your thoughts on it, and love to see the chat throughout. Other than that, that's our episode. So coronavirus slowing down the team, slowing down some of the players, but not slowing down Facecheck. Anything
we
else
took
that
a week
you guys
off,
wanted
but sure.
To... Yeah, I mean, okay.
Sure.
Yeah, we took a week off because they
might have slowed it down a little bit, but you know.
That would have been a perfect time to come together and do our stories, except we weren't able to come together. So that's why we took a week off to reboot and recover from any possible corona cases. Anything else that you guys wanted to hit on before we close it out?
No, I feel like I put in an adequate amount of flame, so I'm satisfied as per usual.
Yeah, I tried my best to be nice.
Well, after week 9,
it's gotten to the point where both of these guys are just scared to do the show with me. Like, it's just too insane.
I mean,
I'm
not scared.
I don't mind flaming, and then I'm just talking like product of the environment, and then we're like Nazis, terrorists. I'm like,
No,
what the
yeah,
fuck?
no,
There's
that's
better-
your
No,
fault.
we're
That's
going
why-
analogies.
That's what I'm
Those are the
afraid
best
of.
analogies.
I'm
let me
like,
tell
hey,
you.
look, I can steer Dom away from those things, but if Loco brings us there, I can't stop Dom from doing
Yeah.
that shit.
It's, when it's
over.
2v1, when it's, I realize like if I go the other route also, it's gonna be 2v1. So yeah. We don't want to. I don't want to be the one holding Daniel's arm back while Dom's punching him in the face. I just go bystander.
Well, after week 9, we'll have all of our ducks in order for the playoffs. So make sure
Daniel,
you tune
it's
in
ducks
next
in a
week.
row. Please get it correct.
Shut up, man. You're reported
ducks
for
in a row,
verbal
please.
abuse. All right, guys, take it easy. We'll see you next week.